Hello, everyone, and welcome to Smashbox TV podcast number 60. I'm your host, Terry Miller, the disc golf guy, joined here back in the Milwaukee studio with Johnny V.
This is just like Vegas?
Not at all. Nowhere close, nothing like it. I want to go back.
Did you gamble at all? You and I have talked a lot about the trip before this, but the one question I didn't ask you is, did you gamble? You're not much of a gambler.
I enjoy it. I enjoy a little
You enjoy blackjack?
Yeah, I'm a big fan, especially single card blackjack or
Single
deck.
Single card.
I think they call that war, actually. Which obviously
Just you against the dealer.
Yeah, no, single deck blackjack is my favorite. Here's the analogy I was kind of baffled by myself. I was in Vegas for 5 days.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't play a single card game.
Okay.
I didn't play a single slot machine.
Okay.
And essentially, I didn't gamble the entire weekend.
Not a
Vegas.
single slot machine.
I never put into the slots. But
I think if I were in Vegas, I'm not a slot machine person at all either, but I think I would probably walk by one and be like, I got like a buck. I'm gonna drop a buck in. It's Vegas. Why not?
Yeah, not one. So I went 5 days in Vegas without doing any gambling, and I can't go 1 day without a Mountain Dew. I don't know where my willpower lies.
Well,
but
you know who did gamble in Vegas? Ricky Wysocki.
Yes, he did.
I saw he said he walked away with like 1,700 or 2,100 or something.
I didn't see the final amount, but
I saw a stack of 5 chips that looked like a small Great Wall of China.
It's funny that I was in Vegas for 5 days.
Yeah.
Having just an amazing time, thanks to Team Legacy. At no point did I see Ricky Wysocki.
Yeah, well.
He wasn't on the course, and he wasn't wherever I was, so it was kind of funny. He was just there. He was relaxing, winning money, clearly.
Yeah.
And at no point did I even see Ricky Wysocki, so kind of funny that not too often you're in the same town as some of our players, and then I don't even see him at any point. So.
Yeah.
Very, very good time. We'll talk a little bit more in depth about the things, of course, we can talk about. We'll skip over a few others, but
things you can't talk about in Vegas.
it was a good time. So.
All right,
but we got a few other things to talk about tonight. Obviously, one of the biggest things in disc golf news today. Is it a coincidence? It dropped on a Tuesday.
No.
Okay, I'm just saying. Today there was talk of the American Disc Golf Tour. We're going to talk to Dana Vicich, and I've got some updates. Chris Kilgis, I believe his name is. Actually, I know it is. I just didn't know how to pronounce it. But Chris, I caught up with him earlier. He's kind of the man behind the scenes of the American Disc Golf Tour. He is at a conference, so he's not able to join us live. However, I kind of rambled through a bunch of questions that just came to mind earlier, so we'll talk about some of the responses and some of the things. I said, well, maybe we could wait till next week, but next week it's going to be old news. So
There'll be another tour announced next week.
Yes,
We're 3 out of 4 weeks we've had a tour announced, right?
Yeah, and I think the next one should be a tour of Illinois or wherever Dana's at.
A Smashbox tour, we were talking.
Yes, let's do it.
Where we just go to people's houses and raid their kitchens.
Yes.
Just help ourselves to their dinner. Like, what are you doing?
Okay. And then, we live broadcast.
Yeah, we live. Oh, yeah, of course. We live broadcast.
Because everybody wants to see me eat.
And me too. We do commentating on their cooking, and it's like Top Chef meets Smashbox.
So we've got that conversation. I also reached out to Paul Ulibarri. Obviously, after back-to-back weekend wins in the last 2 weeks, he said he was having a little bit of car trouble and wasn't sure that he was going to be able to join us. If that somehow happens, we'll obviously get him dialed in with us. But we wish him and Kat the best of luck in their travels. So let's get to it.
Boom goes the dynamite.
And just like that, the man with the curls, Dynamite, Dana Vicich. How are we doing tonight, buddy?
Doing good, boys. Doing good.
Did you get your computer fixed? Because you're looking right at the screen. It's not kind of...
It's gonna start drifting off, I think. I don't know. I don't know what the deal is. It's working though. So
good.
Well, very nice. Well, glad to see you. It's been a little bit hectic. Last week we were in Vegas. Week before things were going on, so we're glad to have you.
You've been Joe Cooling me.
Well,
a little bit.
I'm surprised you didn't Joe Cool me for Chris Kilgus. Oh wait, he announces a tour but he isn't available to talk to media. It makes no sense.
What was there? I mean,
he is a doctor, and he is at some kind of a doctor conference. He just said a few minutes ago, he sent me a quick message thanking me and then saying that he's all caught up in this conference that he's at. So,
and was there
I'll give him a
officially an
pass.
announcement? Because they created the Twitter a while ago. I think they've had the website up for a little bit. Today was just the day they actually announced the ESPN's involvement.
Oh, okay.
So I don't even officially know if a tour, so to speak, has been announced. So whatever.
Well, either way, I've got a little bit more insight. He was very open, and I was saying to him earlier when we got on the phone, I don't think that him and I had ever really met or talked before. So I'm glad I sent him an email, and he was really receptive and called me back or gave me a call. And like I said, I just kind of rambled off a few questions that I had off the top of my head or other popular ones that I saw flying around the internet today. There was chatter on the internet, believe it or not. There was some today, some of that.
I saw a Reddit thread, and I heard there's a disc golf course review thread.
So we're
Yeah.
we'll share what we can, but
Yep, we'll have a lot more detail in a little bit.
so Dana, tell us what have you been getting into? Didn't you run a tournament this weekend?
I did, and unlike you, it's a gamble running a tournament in October, especially running one on a holiday, but Halloween. I said, why not? I'll run a C tier at Highland Park, which is in Joliet, Illinois. It's the best course in the area. And my gamble didn't pay off. That's only because of the weather.
Yeah.
It was pretty miserable on Saturday. It was in the mid to low 40s, and it rain. It was supposed to drizzle. It rained all day. It let up for maybe 10, 15 minutes during the second round, and then just right back at it. We only had 21 total players, so that was kind of a bummer, especially since Sunday it was like 65 degrees. And, we've had this really, as everyone in the Midwest knows, we've had this nice stretch over the past couple days of great weather. And
it's going to go away just in time for the weekend.
Well, and then the thing about that is I'm running the Illinois State Doubles Championship at Pine Hills this Saturday. So while we're going to miss out on the 70s, it does look like we're going to have sunshine and maybe 50 degrees. So that's all right, but it's kind of a bummer to run two events and have gorgeous weather sandwiched in between the two events.
I can't tell you how hot it was in that Arizona desert. It was...
Why were you in Arizona?
I'm sorry, in the Vegas.
In Nevada?
Henderson, specifically, I should clarify. Henderson. I had to get a hat. I searched. I had to borrow a pair of sunglasses. And thankfully, they were so amazing, they got me a cart because it was hot out there. So I feel your pain. I do, just in a different way. Like it was too hot versus... Okay, anyway.
Yeah.
Dana, what else is going on? What other events do we have?
All right, so we'll let Terry run down Vegas here in a few, but I've got the Hawk Hollow Open to talk about. It was this past weekend, the B tier in Spotsylvania, Virginia. You Smashies probably remember me talking about this course, Hawk Hollow. It's home of the VTI. But anyways, it's John Bisco's private course, and it's absolutely epic. And the current best lefty in the world, Zach Melton, decided to come out firing during rounds 1 and 2. He went course record 53, which was rated 1052, and then followed it up with a course record 50. So, and that was 1073. Absolutely ridiculous. I've heard a few people say that a perfect round at Hawk Hollow would be like a 48, and Zach popped off a 50 to the second round. Needless to say, he did go on to win. Rounding out the top 4 there was Chris Dickerson, Stephen Miller, and Dylan Horst. So let's talk about the best lefties in the game. I went ahead and already said it. You guys off the top of your head, who would you put in the conversation of best left-handed thrower?
2 people. Devin.
Devin Owens, he speaks of.
Devin Owens, correct.
Yep.
And
Scott Martin.
in 1988.
Current.
Oh, okay.
Current.
Okay.
Current.
Although he probably could come out and
He probably could.
A friend of ours from Stevens Point. I would put him right up there. Who's that?
I said current, Johnny.
Oh, yeah, see. Keith Warren.
Keith Warren's not
He's-
current.
Keith, never mind. Okay. Yeah, Keith's
Keith's
I thought
current.
you were talking about Schwieger.
Oh, no. I wouldn't put Schwieger. Well, right now I wouldn't put, no offense to my good friend Mike Schwieger, but I wouldn't put him up there. Guy can crush, but he's just not on his game like he used to be. But no, Keith Warren. Keith Warren is one of the most naturally talented disc golfers you'll ever meet. He puts in a little bit of practice. I played around with him this year, and we were talking about his practice routine, and I kind of asked him, like, you seem like you just show up and do well. He's like, well, I
dust off my disc first.
Yeah. He's like, I go out and play usually a round a day at Mead Park, which Mead Park is a pitch and putt. He goes out there more or less with a putter and a mid-range, and he just throws. And he's the most smooth, furthest throwing lefty out there. And he just doesn't tour.
Yeah, he doesn't tour. He finished in the top 10 at the Worlds. Go back to 2004, and you can see in Iowa.
I think he's finished top 10 twice.
Yeah, he
up at Highbridge,
used
maybe?
to travel occasionally with Chris Herron, back in his heyday as well. And Keith Warren is just a phenomenal player. And like we said, everyone out there on tour is lucky he just doesn't go out of the state ever.
yeah, they really are. He for whatever reason, I mean, he's clearly 100 times better player than I am. I get to play with him almost every year at Manitowoc because it's usually
First
by
round.
alphabetical name. So it's Van Derzen and Warren. And we always chat, and he told me this year, he's like, yeah, I think next year I'm going to take it more seriously. I'm going to go out on tour. And he never does. I think he tells me that every year. So, but if he ever does, look out. The guy is a phenom. So someone says, is Henrik? Henrik, is he a lefty?
Henrik, yeah.
Henrik?
Yep,
so
from Sweden.
Yeah, you can drop the eek and
Henrik? Okay.
pick it up.
I will.
Yeah, Henrik, I think he's probably got to be in the conversation.
Sure.
Although Keith, now that you guys mentioned Keith Warren, even though he's not out there in the national scene, I might bump him for Henrik, but unfortunately for Keith, he's not out there doing it, and Henrik is. So, but yeah, that's kind of the names I came up with: Devin, Zach Melton, and then Henrik Johansson. And I'll break it down a little bit more for you guys. Henrik is currently rated 1010. Devin is rated 1014. And Zach has Devin by a point, currently at 1015. So, point Zach.
Yeah.
Literally, point. But
Hey-o.
so Devin, though, is a much more proven golfer than either Henrik or Zach. But at this moment, I feel like I've got to give the nod to Zach over Devin. Henrik has had himself a really great year. He came over to the U.S. and toured and had some really good finishes. He got an A-tier win, finished top 10, 6th place, I believe, at the USDGC. So he was the top lefty there. Zach finished in 10th place. He spent some time on the lead card, though, so that's even though Henrik got him by a few strokes, Zach finished in 10th. And then Devin finished in 30th, a couple strokes ahead of me, but I'm not left-handed. In Devin's defense, though, he showed up to USDGC and hadn't thrown a disc since Ledgestone. When was Ledgestone?
August.
Yeah. I was gonna, late
Yeah.
July.
Yeah.
August? Okay.
Yeah, mid-August to the beginning of October, and he hadn't picked up a disc and shows up and gets 30th place, beating me, cashing at one of the biggest events of the year. And Devin is still recovering from that broken leg he had a little over a year ago. So he's on the mend, but I'm giving it to Zach. What do you guys think?
I think Zach right now is probably the best lefty out there.
I think you're continuing to see him rise right now too.
Yeah.
I mean, when I spoke to him even at USDGC and when we're live on the broadcast, I'm thinking about how he's been out there and he's been touring, and obviously he's made a name for himself, but he's not a household name yet as much as some of our other players. And that's not a rip on him by any means, but I think this year, he's really put himself up there. He's doing everything right.
He came out at Ledgestone and was leading and on the lead card for a good majority of the weekend, if not the whole weekend. But like I said, he's rated 10-15. He's up 10 points from 1 year ago. His PDGA winnings are right around 13,000, which is a pretty solid number for someone who is not a household name. But I presume that his rating will actually probably go up a few points in the next update. But he's certainly and he's a super nice guy. He had this whole posse. Anytime you've got Paige and Madison as part of your posse caddying around and walking around with you,
you're doing something right in life.
Yeah, so super good guy, and just a lot of fun to be around. A couple, Sarah Hokum, I believe, is out on the board and is throwing out the name Timu. How do you?
Yeah, Timu. He's legit. I've watched some video of him playing. He also finished really well at the USDGC. I think he snuck inside the top 10. I want to say, but he's a really smooth player. From Finland, and if he comes out and plays a little more and shows up at some of these bigger worldwide or U.S. events, he's definitely going to give Zach and Devin a run for their money as the title of best lefty.
Well, this weekend in Las Vegas, or outside of it, I actually recorded and watched a gentleman that's rated higher than everyone you just mentioned and is also left-handed. I think that's enough clues. Do you know who I'm talking about? So someone could say he's the best lefty out there.
Had a very, very hot coming out party in 2011 at Worlds.
Oh, no, you can't be cheating and clicking around.
And you recorded him?
Derek Billings.
D-Bill.
Oh, D-Bills.
Rated 10-17. And he made...
Oh, I forgot to look all the way at the bottom because he didn't finish.
Yeah.
After he shot an 800-something rated first round.
Now, Billings is a funny character. He's a funny guy in general, and we've hung out a couple times, but he will come out and shoot lights out, and then he will come out and just pretend like he's never played the game. And
he was a contender for Worlds.
He was
2011.
And I think it's just a matter of lack of play with him. He doesn't have the consistency. I think if he were to kind of get back in the tour for just a month or so, he's going to shoot right up with his consistency.
Yes, go ahead.
I was going to say, I feel like he went on tour once and didn't last very long on the road, and has been more successful as a regional.
Sure.
Yeah, so
touring pro
in 2015, he only played 3. This weekend was his 3rd tournament, which he didn't finish, which I'll get to in a moment. 2014, he played in 3 tournaments, cashing in 2 out of the 3. And then back in 2013, again, very subtle on the touring schedule in that he did 5 tournaments. Actually, he finished 4 out of the 5 that he played in, or maybe he may not have attended the St. Patty's Classic, but
one a year he just decides not to finish.
And back in 2012, 7 tournaments. So he's got a 10-17 rating. He's playing medium to bigger size tournaments. He's kind of like Keith in that he doesn't play that much.
Sure.
In fact, he plays way less than Keith. 2011 was his biggest year by far.
Steve Mills on the board is saying I think Steve had toured with him that year a bit.
Okay, well, in 2011 was his big year, earning $7,100, playing in 17 events. So that was, and then as we said, at the World Championships, he was right there in the hunt to win the World
Yeah.
Championships.
Didn't he have a bad break
He-
on the really hard lefty hole? Didn't he like keep hitting and rolling out of bounds?
I think he had one big blow up hole towards
Yeah.
I might even have been that last or second to last round. I can't remember. And then he kind of just petered out from there. I mean, he still finished well, but he just he kind of lost contention at that point.
Yeah, well, speaking of losing contention, so there was a hole, I believe it's hole
Are we going to get
7.
into?
I just want to describe, he wasn't...
I was gonna say, are we going to roll into
Sure, okay, we can get
Halloween
to that
coverage
later.
right away? The Halloween.
Or we can get to that, that's fine.
All right, go ahead.
Okay, well, so Derek Billings, I think the video I produce may be labeled worst hole ever, and I almost don't want to spoil it for everyone. His good friend Drew Gibson reached out to me today. He's like, "How did Derek take like a 15 on a hole where other guys 3'd it?" He had some really bad breaks, and
Truly bad breaks, or
no, a couple of them were really bad. He threw a few bad shots, and then they were amplified by a few bad breaks. And he finished out the round. He completed this was hole. I want to say it's like hole 7, 6 or 7. He finished out the round, played out the rest of the round. Steve Rico was in tow. His I think it's his lady friend, we'll say, in Jordan Walker, Madison's sister, and it was. I think at one point he said, "I'll kill you if this video goes online." Of clearly in good-natured fun, but I think he said he better not ever see this online. And I think it's my job. I don't know.
your media. He signed the waiver, right?
I said I was brought out here to film golf, and you gave me a lot of golf.
That's a lot of golf.
So I happened to walk up on this particular hole, which didn't go well for me. It's a true par 4, but he more than tripled par, I think, when it was all said and done. So
Ouch.
look for that this week. It's going to be one of my new exclusive Disc Golf Guy mini clips. It might be one of the longer mini clips, but it'll be just him playing that hole. I'm going to break that out into a separate clip. So that's for you, Drew Gibson, and Derek, don't kill me. So thank you.
Drew will protect you.
Drew said he's got my back.
All right.
So I'm good.
He said that. Who's coming back?
No,
Derek's-
Drew said that he has my back because I said Derek doesn't want me to post this. And
I was gonna say that'd be nice to see Derek back out there playing more seriously and on a more consistent basis. Because he's, as you guys have said, he's easily up there with one of the best lefties in the world.
And someone chiming in from yesteryear in that Joe Mila, obviously one of the better lefties of all time. If you're going to talk about best
Correct.
of all time, Joey obviously has to be way up there. Was there a better all-around lefty of all time that you can think of, Dana? Maybe than Joe?
Probably not.
No, I mean he's been doing it for so long, and
He's got the titles, and he's got it all. So
it's hard to argue with that. I mean, Scott Martin, I don't know how he had a really nice run, but he doesn't have the longevity of Joey Mela in his career.
Mm-hmm. So, anyway, let's move on to a few of the other things. I'll just talk about Vegas real quick in terms of the play. Coming off his hot win, where he took down a $5,000 purse the previous weekend. We had Paul Ulibarri, and showed up and played really hot. He had to hold off Bobby Music from the start. I think he had 2 or so strokes. He had 3 strokes on Bobby after the first round, and 2 strokes on Steve Berger, who's a local. I got to meet a bunch of new faces for me, I should say. Obviously, great guys out in the area that do a lot of the work for the Las Vegas club, but Steve Berger being one of them for sure. I know one of the rounds I followed, JC, also Tony Martinez, and then Cameron, who is, I think, someone you should do a little research there on, Dana. Cameron Messerschmidt. Yeah, he's obviously a really solid player. I'm kind of shocked to see his rating is 963 for as well as I saw him play this weekend. I see
he played
nowhere but up from there.
He played really well the previous weekend, too, and was battling with Drew Gibson, I believe. Or maybe not battling. Drew shot really well. But,
he had the hot final round, which was a 10:39 rated round. Now he might be sub age 21, and I think by the end of the weekend that can be an advantage when you're out at the Vegas tournament. I think when there's odds that will eventually be placed on disc golf tournaments.
That's probably great by the end of the weekend, but it's not so fun every night.
Well,
if you're under 21.
To see him have that longevity though at coming in with the hot round, he beat Uli by 6 on the final round, and still came up 5 strokes short.
What's his deal? I mean, I'm looking at his PDGA page, and he's got 26 amateur events played, and he's played. This was his 4th or 5th. No, more than that. He's got like 6 or 7 open events. He's up near 35 events on the year. That's a lot. And
yeah. He said he's been touring around a lot, and I know when I interviewed him briefly, he said he'd like to thank his parents for the support. So I think he's, as we all know, touring is long and expensive. Touring in the amateur divisions is even longer and more expensive.
Did he throw any thumbers? Apparently, Eagle is asking if you'd seen him throw any thumbers.
I did not.
Assuming he has.
I did not see him throw any thumbers. Now that I think about it, I followed him in the last round.
Max Nichols, lefty too.
Max Nichols is another good lefty in there in the conversation, but I did not see him throw any thumbers.
Yeah, we're presents the lefty lowdown today.
Yeah, so much lefty love. Uli held off a charging Bobby Musick. I think Bobby at one point may have even caught him during that final round, and Uli just kind of put it down on the last few holes. It was a really good finish. Look for a video blog, of course. I'll be putting all of those out in the next week or so to cover the action. I'm going to kind of do a wrap-up video from the first day where I kind of roamed around, and then second and third rounds were all of the leader card action. So
okay, so everybody heard that. Terry said in the next week or so he's going to have those videos up.
I will.
What's or so? Is that week or month?
I would say
week to month?
For sure within the next 14 days, for sure, positively.
All right. Legacy crew, you heard that.
Yeah.
You paid them to come out.
Even quicker than that, hopefully, but for sure. Katrina was just took care of her business. She played pretty well throughout the weekend. She cruised into an relatively easy victory for her. She played well. Scott Merritt, who picked me up from the airport, thank you, Scott. Him and Rob Ryan went toe-to-toe. I think Scott said he was leading for 53, maybe 54 of the holes or so, or it was almost wire to wire. And then on the last hole, I believe Rob Ryan caught him. Then they went into a playoff, and Rob Ryan won it. So Rob Ryan is your victor there. Jeff Jacqua and Bamba Rico had some pretty humorous jabbing back and forth throughout the round, and Jeff got him handedly when all the scores shook out, so that was cool. Mike Cloys we saw win the Grandmasters, and it was just all awesome. I mean, congrats to all the winners, all the people that played out there. Congrats, probably most importantly, to the Las Vegas Disc Golf Club. The effort, the all hands on deck, seeing a half dozen guys do a bunch of really important things while an event is going on, whether it's, somebody's doing check-in, there was a wife or two or a girlfriend or two doing something else their husbands were out doing other things. Like, it was, it's inspiring. I love going to these communities all around the country and seeing how well a club or an organization can run, and when they do, how successful those tournaments are. And 150 or so people for this tournament. The big storyline was that they were at a golf course, the Black Mountain Country Club, and they always play at sunset, which is closer to the Vegas Strip, but they were 30 minutes outside of Vegas in Hendersonville at this golf course. And the same golf course owners are taking a liking to disc golf. They had them on their 9-hole side, but they're talking about letting them take over an entire course in town, closer to town, for the Gentlemen's Club. And they're talking about 500 or 600 people at the Gentlemen's Club already next year. They're talking about coverage. They're talking about, it's just unbelievable the way things are moving out there, and really happy for them. So huge props to everyone in the Las Vegas Disc Golf Club, and of course to Legacy. I think they should always be built in. Legacy was not only the title sponsor, not only the sponsor that brought me out there to help bring the coverage to you guys, But then Legacy at the end of the night on Sunday night bought pizzas for everyone that was still there. So
Nice.
you won me forever. I mean, really, some pizzas show up. So it was awesome. So congrats to all of the players, all of the club members, the sponsors, everyone that had any part of that. It was pretty awesome. It was great to be out there. And people are so appreciative. They thank you. They thank me.
Yeah.
They thank you, Dana. Like, just when people come up to us and say they really enjoy our podcast, or I'm like, really? You listen? You're like,
It warms my heart.
I'm thinking, really?
They might not always listen. We heard today some people, they don't always listen live. Maybe we're with them on their walks. Maybe
Yep.
we're with them during the exercise. So if you're exercising right now, go.
Go, Bobby.
Yeah, go Bobby.
So yeah, it was just the I don't know, just the all around vibe and feel out there was really good, and we appreciate it. So thank you guys.
Nice.
That's it.
Yeah,
Vegas.
Yeah, it's a kind of a quiet weekend. A lot of glow events going on this weekend and next weekend because of Halloween and just that the daylight saving time. So yeah, we'll see how things go. Are you playing next weekend?
I don't believe so.
No.
I don't even know what's going on. I know there's a local
We have
event.
a big Halloween howler, just like I'm sure like every local area, and so
Ain't nobody got time for that.
yeah.
Dana, you're running. You said you're running yours this weekend, and is that Saturday or Sunday?
Saturday.
Okay.
And right now I think we're at 42 registered teams out of a possible 48 or something like that.
Okay.
44 teams. I don't know, somewhere right around there. So we're at a near full field. All the golf carts are sold out. We only had 38 golf carts, so there's 38 pretty happy teams that they get to cruise around on a golf cart. And if those that waited, I'm sorry, but not really.
Another amazing touch. Thank you, Las Vegas Disc Golf Club. On the final, all 3 days when I was out there, I showed up and they had a cart ready for me, ready to go. On the last day I showed up, it even said Terry Miller and it had Smashbox written on it. What a nice touch. Yes. So Las Vegas Disc Golf Club, you guys are pretty amazing out there. So thank you.
Nice.
They give me a cart. I don't know about your tournament down there, Dana, but they got me a cart.
Oh, we take care of you. Come on
Okay.
down.
Maybe I'll come down and hang out with you Saturday. Maybe not.
Yeah.
Dana, I'm looking through our show notes, and it doesn't look like you have much more as far as event coverage. Do you want to hang out and chat with us regarding the tour?
Yeah. I got a few minutes here. If I just disappear, that's because I lost interest or
Yeah, well, we bored you
Go to
like a lot of
sleep.
people.
This time change is a killer.
Oh, I see. I'm loving it. Well, I mean, I saw someone. It said something along the lines of happiness, kids, sleep for the time change. You can only have two of the three.
Oh.
So
Yeah.
But so this morning I was sitting at work and I get a little ding. Someone says, "Hey, have you seen this?" And they linked to the. No, that's totally different. You got to sing that in the microphone if you're going to sing. Who sang that?
MC Hammer.
Oh, yeah, tell me, have you seen her? And then basically it was a link to a Twitter post from the American Disc Golf Tour.
Yep.
And I had not seen it, and he asked, like, "Hey, do you guys know anything about this?" And I didn't, and so I immediately start Googling and looking, and then find out that it is a new tour that apparently they're getting on ESPN. So with a little bit further knowledge, we find out that it's being backed by Salient.
Well, it has the same owner, and
Same
this
owner.
is something worth clarifying, I think, right off the bat.
Okay.
As I had a conversation with Chris from Salient, and I think he posted in a few different places. Same owner that we find with Salient Discs. However, they're separate entities. So,
Okay. Well,
he's keeping them separate in the sense. So, I think what he doesn't want,
business-wise.
he doesn't want someone to say, okay, this is the American Disc Golf Tour, presented by Salient
Sure.
or something. Salient may be a sponsor of the tour at some point. But I'm sure in a similar sense when you find like Steve Dodge saying, currently I work for Vibram.
Yep.
I'm going to go out and create the Pro Tour.
Yep.
And but it's not the Vibram Pro Tour. It's
the
they're
Pro Tour.
two separate things to him.
So, yeah, because the number one thing, and I guess I'm going to get right into the negative. The number one thing you see out on a lot of the web boards, Reddit, Disc Golf Course Review, anyone that's anywhere, the minute you bring up Salient, negativity. Like right off the bat, people are saying avoid. I have no personal interaction with them. I've never worked or bought anything, but it seems like there's I don't know if it's a large group or it's a small vocal group that has had some.
It's a large group.
It's a large group. So can you elaborate on that, Dana? Because I don't know anything about it.
Yeah, educate everyone that seems to want to chime in. And again, Johnny V and I do a lot of retailing, and I run tournaments and do things of that nature. I've never personally worked with Salient in any way other than my conversation with Chris today, which was very good. But any specifics, or I don't even know if we need specifics, but what seems to be the...
what's the big beef?
Yeah.
They just they have what's turned out to be poor products, and they have very poor customer service. And
was it a bag? Is that what kind of I gathered? There was an issue with the bag, or
bags, baskets,
okay,
basically anything they touch.
No,
has been pretty bad.
Okay, so they're not.
So they've gotten a lot of heat for their. I don't know. They offered sponsorship. You could be sponsored by Salient, but you had to pay them X amount of dollars, and you got a crummy shirt. That, I don't know. You had, and maybe a disc or something. Some sort of a joke like that, I guess you would say, to be sponsored. But
would you say? And I'm going to ask a few questions then. Would you say that we have a lot of quote unquote standards or norms in disc golf? From what I've gathered, it also sounds as if there's a different angle or a different spin or angle that they've taken with some things, including even the team sponsorship. I mean,
is there a problem taking a different angle? Is there a problem
I guess
saying,
that's what I'm saying.
That? I mean,
no, you're right. You're right on that. I shouldn't have talked down on that, but
you're just saying what a lot of people already thought, because I heard the same thing, that people were calling the team sponsorship a joke and this and that. So what you're saying is just what a lot of people are thinking, and there's a lot. I'll say this: there's a lot of negativity out there right now, but it's early. Things can be changed, proven wrong, different. Maybe they're just not the greatest at manufacturing products. Maybe they see things.
Well, here's something I would challenge to that, though, too, is, and I've done some research many years ago when you're talking about disc golf bags, you're talking about baskets, shoes. Most of that stuff, most of our goods and products, sorry, Donald Trump, but most of our stuff like that is produced overseas. A lot of it comes from the same manufacturers.
Sure.
If right now I had the most successful disc golf bag in the world, I could or you did, let's say you were producing
Sweet.
it, I could probably make like 3 phone calls, figure out what factory it's produced in, and then have a nearly identical one produced. Sorry if that's some insider info, but that's how a lot of that stuff works. So, and again, I'm just trying to play devil's advocate because I don't have any issues one way or another, of course. But
I just wanted to get the negativity out there right away, and then so we can maybe follow it up with some actual things that we know and facts and figures after the fact, because that is the first and foremost thing on people's minds when they hear that it's associated with them. People are right away throwing dirt on it. So I just wanted to get that out there just so we can maybe, I'm sure things will be cleared up. There'll be a lot more information as far as that goes, as far as Salient's involvement, I'm sure, coming up. So you, Terry, had a conversation. You called him.
He called me.
He called you. You reached out to him via email, and he contacted you back and called you back, and we had a bunch of questions for him.
Yeah, like I said, I just kind of went down a handful of different things that were coming to mind, or maybe questions that I saw on either my Facebook page or someone else's. Obviously, there was a lot of chatter about it today. And he said, and I've confirmed this with another friend of disc golf that works over at ESPN, that what he's been going through in terms of trying to get this to be an ESPN-related tournament or tour has been nothing short of a ton of work and a lot of time. And that makes perfect sense. He said as far back as June of 2014 There was some conversation that was initially happening with ESPN, and then he's had to go through a very long process. And then it wasn't, he said it moved forward in July of 2014. And then in September, just a few, 2 months ago, is when things were kind of finally approved. So more than a year of going back and forth, having conversations with ESPN to get this thing rolling, which to me says something right off the bat. It's not like, oh, hey, can we do this? No, okay,
correct. So there's been a lot of effort to that side. So it's official, we'll say, that they're going to have a live event on ESPN3 in May of next year.
So yes, and that's one of the questions I think that people have had out there as well. Is this really going to happen, or is there a chance for it not to happen? I had written down in here that he is planning on a live broadcast May 15th, starting at 1 p.m. I don't know, I'm guessing Eastern, 1 p.m., and they have a 2-hour block blocked out on ESPN. He says the very first showing of it will be on ESPN3. And I'll admit, I was a little naive before today as to the various ESPNs, what that all means, how they all work. But he said...
is ESPN3, is that an actual channel, or is that their live, or is that their online entity?
Somebody I'm sure can clarify, but I was under the impression that certain markets may have that as a channel, and then some have said that is exclusively online. So I personally, I don't even honestly know. I know I don't have it, but I don't have ESPN2 either.
I don't have ESPN1. Dana, you don't know?
I don't have ESPN. I don't have cable.
Yeah, same here. Dana, have you looked at any of the... Have you browsed the website for this event, the American Disc Golf Tour?
I sniffed around a little bit while I was out at Pine Hills today, taking a quick break. I looked at it and then realized that it was salient. I called Terry and then kind of just shrugged it off and figured I would look at it a little bit later. But by everything that I saw, it doesn't seem like they really did a good job with the website, the rules, and the qualifications.
It seems like the qualifications are kind of... I mean, it looks like they just more or less took most of the top players and threw them in there for people who are qualified. Yeah. And I understand if it's your first year touring, maybe you just pick the top 50 or 75 pros.
Yeah, Paul Ulibarri. Yeah.
Well, he's on there. That was one of the questions I'd asked, some clarifications regarding the qualifications, and I'll quickly paraphrase.
ESPN3 is basically ESPN YouTube, is what people are saying. So Steve Rico was also initially missing from the list, which was an oversight. Him and Ulibarri. The invites were based on a combination of top players with established track records in professional disc golf events. And I would say this: whatever's list is there, I'm guessing is not a final list. And I'll go another step further, because it's probably the number one criticism I've heard today is people asking about who's qualified and who's not and why it is. I'll politely say, chill the F out. I understand. Yeah.
I understand it maybe wasn't crystal clear, but here's the funny part to me, and I've got no dog in the fight, but I still am getting worked up, because what I see is everybody being very dismissive of the tour. That's fine. You can have your own opinions one way or another.
I mean, if you have a bad history with them,
and that's fine. But you're dismissive of the tour, but then you're complaining that you're not invited to it.
Oh,
and it's like this classic, well, I don't really care. Well, wait, I'm not on it, but I don't really care anyway. And that's what I have found to be really entertaining today, is a lot of the people that are claiming they don't care. It's like the same argument about ratings. I don't care what ratings say, but then you're the first to complain about what your rating is.
Yeah.
And obviously a lot of the conversation is coming in about the rules. I didn't ask him about the rules. I know that he's clearly working on their own set to some degree.
It looks like they have that they took portions of the PDGA rules and worked with that. But there are some strange ones. And some of the ones I've seen on the board, there's like a different disc standard as far as like rim weight. The discs can have holes in them, apparently.
Sure.
There are you can use smaller size discs. Someone said 5 inches. Yeah, and I'm sure more people will post on here as far as like some of the strange rules. And the one thing I thought was kind of funny, and this might just be oversight, or it could just be one of the About Us page was something about ESPN recommending that they have a standard target.
Correct. And we talked about that.
And then the problem is you look at their targets and they list basically every target that we have. So I don't know if he said anything to you. What did he say to you?
I'll clarify on that. So when he's talking about standard targets, what he's looking for is a consistency from an event to an event.
Okay, so you don't have
So he you could in theory have Innova Discatcher Pro 28s as long as it's at all of the events that are broadcast.
Okay.
You could have DGA Mach 29s or whatever, Mach 5s or Mach 3s, as long as it's consistent at each. That's the consistency that they were looking for in terms of the targets. So I just wanted to, that was certainly a question that I had asked because I saw that come in. That's what he's looking for. And I'll say this, I'm not sure that a lot of our PDGA current tour players would necessarily mind a consistent basket at every single event.
I've said that
There'll be an
before.
argument as to which one it is, of course.
Yep.
But if you went and played all 6 or 8 or 10 stops on a national tour, it'd be kind of logical to play the exact same basket on all 10 of those courses or 10 of those events.
Sure.
It'd be logical. We currently don't have that. There's recommendations to do it, but it's not currently done. So that's a big sticking point for him. And one of the other questions that came in was talking about the PDGA sanctioning. I asked him, I said, this looks like you're obviously not PDGA sanctioned. And he said that it is, he said that because of some of the rules and the consistencies in the governing body and so on and so forth, that they needed to have their own governing body.
Sure.
And things weren't necessarily going to move quick enough with the PDGA and certain buy-ins.
We've heard that before.
And that makes perfect sense. So,
Dana, can you see yourself going out of your way to go to this event?
I'm not going.
Not going? Okay.
No.
If you were featured,
you could be let's put it this way. We know one pro isn't going to be there.
Sure.
Yep. We heard from Paul. Paul Macbeth said that he was not going to be there because of some prior obligations. And it doesn't conflict with something directly, I believe, but it's like a week before or a week after the Masters. Is that right? You would say?
I'm not sure. I think it's a week before the Masters Cup out in California.
Yeah. Okay. So what else? So let's talk about the ESPN thing.
Okay.
ESPN 3 is there. You need, and now that someone mentions it, it makes sense. You need a cable subscription to log in. It is their online presence, but you still need a cable subscription to authenticate to get in.
Okay.
Now, my understanding, and we've heard this before in the past, and part of the media tour is you purchase time on ESPN 3. So more or less, if you have something sports related and you want to purchase and you want time on there, you can probably give ESPN enough money to put your event on there. So we're assuming that's what they're doing, correct?
I don't know that. We didn't get into the specifics in terms of what kind of financial investment it was going to be for that. That I don't know. I've heard everything, and just as you said, from you having to purchase time, which is what has, I think, stopped a lot of our other previous broadcast efforts. You having to purchase time at tens of thousands of dollars, or that on something like ESPN3, it may be even free to put on ESPN3. However, you're going to need to work with approved ESPN producers and production company and whatnot, because they're not just going to take you and me, for instance.
What?
Yeah, believe it or not, they're not going to just take us.
What if we get Dana involved?
Nope, they're still not going to just take us and throw us on ESPN3. There's a lot of serious financial obligations, as he was telling me about some of the things that need to happen. There's a very serious financial investment in this overall process.
So we're not.
There's no doubt about that.
So we're not sure if they actually bought ESPN time, but they are paying for sounds like a professional production company to
Correct.
come and do this.
More professional than us, believe it or not.
Not possible.
Yes, very possible.
And according to them, the membership that you have to be part of this tour, I believe it's for a pro, we'll just say $75.
Sure.
Half of that is immediately going towards their production costs. So
Correct.
if they get 1,000 people and they have $75,000,
37,000.
half of that is going to go for production to make sure that they can pay for actually producing this, because they're getting a satellite truck. The assumption is the reason why it's on a golf course, I believe you said, is
so that they'd have some of the other advantages and or just technology requirements to be able to do a live feed of this nature.
Running lots of fiber optics and line of sight.
Correct. So pretty.
Peter Mercel says it's $300 to play in the event. That's the entry fee.
I think I saw that on there.
Wow.
I know
That's
thing that
one
was
of the largest.
one of the things that was clarified as well. That I had seen that as well. There was a $300 entry fee, $75 to be a member, as you were just saying. However, if you're an invited player, that's waived.
Oh, okay.
So, Dana, you don't have to pay that $75. I'm assuming you're on the list. I didn't look. Are you? Of course you are. Look at you.
Yeah.
So you do not have to pay that if you are an invited player in one of the wave of invites, and that's what I guess I was really trying to get at earlier. Is there's a list of invited players. He said there will be a second list of invited players as well.
Okay.
So just because you're not maybe on the list this minute or today doesn't mean that maybe tomorrow you won't be, or the next week, or whenever that's going to be. So. That was one of the clarifications.
You guys think that my name will come off the list after tonight?
Maybe.
I don't know.
Because that's kind of how they play over there at Salient.
Yeah, that's one of the other complaints, is that they have threatened legal action against people that have given them negative reviews with an actual... I'll say this, they're not the only company that's ever done that. I know there's been other non-disc golf companies that have done that, and that never seems to go over well with your client base, but...
Yeah.
We can let you get going in a second, Dana, and I know you've got kids and late night and stuff like that, but what right now are your concerns, or what are your thoughts on this?
I just have zero faith in anything that Salient, Disc, or Chris Kilgus does, and my dislike for Salient has started when I heard it was Chris Kilgus's company. And that's mainly because a friend of mine caught Chris Kilgus cheating in a disc golf tournament back in 2007-ish.
Okay.
Down in, where was it? Earlwood. So, good friend of mine caught him cheating multiple times, pencil whipping and whatnot. So, that's one of the reasons that I don't like Salient. And then I followed all the drama over the message boards, Disc Golf Course Review, Facebook, and kind of just, said, well, I'm not surprised. This guy, cheated. Now he's got a disc golf company, and supposedly he's a doctor, and supposedly he's at a conference tonight. I mean, it's 10 o'clock at night, Central Time Zone. If he's on the East Coast, it's 11.
He might be on the West Coast right now.
I don't know.
I don't know.
I just it's all really fishy. It seems like a joke. Like I don't know.
That's
to me,
fine.
They don't know what they're doing with disc golf. They're coming out with silly frisbees. Literally frisbees and
well, I mean that might be part of their. We'll say this. That might be part of their reason for the change in their specs. They might be looking to, I won't say corner, because I don't think you're going to corner anything. But if you want to get your discs out there, and you don't necessarily want to abide by PDGA standards, but you think you have a decent product, look at the Epic,
Yeah.
That eventually was, I believe it's no longer PDGA approved due to the rim. But if you think you've got a good product out there and the PDGA won't let you do it, maybe you sidestep them. But all right. Yeah. So, all right, Dana. Well,
I just want to say that those are my personal Dana Vicich. That's my
Sure.
personal experiences. And
You're
but
not
I've-
speaking for
Dana,
Smashbox.
Dana doesn't speak for Smashbox. Well, I asked you your opinion, and you were kind enough to give that to us.
I mean,
so.
that's where I'm at, and obviously, that's my opinion, not you guys. I don't want to, put you guys out
Yep.
there. This is your platform, and
No,
I'm just here as
we
a
said
guest.
before we have.
You're fired.
Yeah, I kind of let it go there.
That's okay.
So,
That's all
but
right.
That's just how I feel about it.
All right.
No, that's fair enough. We're all about opinions. We, as you just said, we just want to make sure it's clear that Johnny V and I have had absolutely no.
I've never heard of the guy.
Yeah,
until now.
We've had no interaction, so we can talk hearsay. We talk on all of our different podcasts about various things that fly around the water cooler by all sorts of different companies and people and whatever and so on and so forth. But just know that. Us here at Smashbox have not had any negative interaction. Like I said, Chris was nothing but amazing and stand up with me today to answer all my questions, which I'll get back to a few more of them.
Okay.
But it is what it is. So
All right,
you
Dana.
got anything else, Dana? Before we cut you loose, are you going to play this weekend? Real quick question: are you going to play too, or are you just
Is it single or doubles?
doubles?
It's doubles. No, last year Ashley and I played in the mixed doubles, and this year we are passing on that. I'm going to have my plate full with presumably a full event and a lot of things going on. We've got some local media trying to get them out there, and so I'm going to hang back and try to run a smooth show. I usually don't, and that's probably last year playing in that event was one of the first times I'd ever played an event that I ran. So, and it worked out fine. But for this year, I'm just going to hang out.
It's always smoother when you don't play, and then you can kind of get everything ready nice and quick. I mean,
yeah.
So.
All right, Dana.
All right, well, thanks for having me on, and maybe if I'm not fired, we'll see you next week.
We might withhold this week's check. I'm just saying that.
Yeah.
So.
You still get nothing of nothing.
All
no
right.
matter how it cuts.
All right, Dana.
Have a good night, Dana.
Have a good night.
Night, guys.
Bye.
All right. Well, and Dana Vicich, of course, joining us as he does most weeks. One of the things that has rung the most true in both good and bad commentary that's come about since the release of this today is our disc golf community.
Vocal.
It's vocal, but I also feel like every time there's change, and I'll say this about every one of the tours, as soon as UC announced what he was doing, criticism.
Oh, yeah.
He wasn't doing X, Y, and Z. Steve Dodge, as lovable as he is and as great and smart as he is, well, Steve's not doing A, B, and C. Salient, whatever reason, or the American Disc Golf Tour.
If you haven't made somebody mad, you're not doing something.
Correct.
Because it doesn't matter. We've seen it. No matter what you do, there are going to be people who disagree or don't like it.
Yeah, of course.
And we're such a small community. It's a very big echo chamber where you hear everything. Every little criticism that's thrown up there about us, I've read.
Yeah, it gets back to us.
Yeah. Hiding it on those message boards, I'll find it. So, again, I'm sure, who knows what's going to happen. They might have had, they may have had their issues in the past, but I'm fine with it. I don't know anything about him. So, what other questions did we ask him? Did you ask him? I didn't ask him anything.
He said that he wasn't necessarily going to have them exclusive in terms of tours, that if there was something like a Disc Golf World Tour or the World Disc Golf Tour or the Pro Disc Golf Tour, that he would be open to his event possibly having...
Oh, like a co-tour.
Another tie-in, or if it was part of another
Okay.
tour, something like that. I thought that was an interesting way to look at that. I feel like that's pretty inclusive. To clarify, he said it, and I think this was on the site. He said it's at the Cobblestone Golf Course, which I believe is right there in Columbia, South Carolina. They had to be very specific and selective as to where it's going to be, and we know with being at places like the International Disc Golf Center or being at a Blue Ribbon Pines or being at a Maple Hill, there's a lot of trees out there. And so again, going along with the technology and things that they need to do, that's why this golf course, he's talking about a temporary course that will be set up for doing this. I apologize that I wasn't. I think he's trying on 2 events this year, and then
next year,
adding a college event, and then also
I think adding an event and a college event is what I saw,
and having I think 2 AM events this year, AM based events. So 2 pro based events, and then 2 AM based events.
And it looks like from on the tour you can actually license your own, I'll say ADGT tour event, which I believe you probably pay. If it's most like license, you pay to have your event be part of the tour, and then that money probably goes into because right now they've got the American Open and the Fall Classic.
Correct. Yes. He says he's going to be working on the details for exactly where and when the Fall Classic will be. Again, I'm sure he's going to be considering things like the World Tour, the Pro Tour, and all of that other stuff. But not being a PDGA based event. Mm-hmm. He'll be able to kind of pick and choose really whatever weekend he wants. He's not going to have to conflict with some of those other ones.
Sure.
Someone says that they know the GM at Cobblestone, and they're going to try and talk to him tomorrow, maybe get some more information. He had told me that one of the companies that he had, the production company, I believe that he said he had worked with, I almost don't even want to say it because I think my notes say that he had worked with companies such as Reebok and the CrossFit movement. So we're outclassed here, I guess is what I'm saying in that sense, that when they're talking about hiring full-blown production companies, we've seen, the Emporia Group, we've seen Vera Disc, you've seen Smashbox, you've seen Disc Golf Planet. We are all very, very small potatoes to what these guys are going to be working with.
I mean, just think about...
Which kind of excites me because
it does too. Think about, put this in perspective. When for the European Open, UC filmed 5 or 6 holes with a true production company.
Yep, which was very costly from what we heard as well.
We had heard $20,000.
Okay,
that's the number I think that was thrown out there that UC had put out there that he'd paid that much. I'm fairly certain that's what it was, and that was 5 holes in a pretty open environment. If we're talking 2 hours of content for an event, that's probably at least 2/3 of the course.
Yeah, 2/3 or half. Yeah,
so
a little more than half.
Could we just guess at $40,000? I mean, I know I'm throwing numbers out there, but to put it in perspective, a true production company with a satellite van and all the other trimmings and people that know what they're doing, not like us. Mm-hmm. It's gonna be a costly investment. So I'm excited about that someone's throwing money into disc golf, that putting this kind of stuff into it, and to see the type of result that they get.
Yeah, it should be. There's a lot of people that will say, "Oh, I'll see it. I'll believe it when I see it." I'm excited to see what comes of it. There's certainly going to be a learning curve for them. There's going to be a learning curve for Steve Dodge's tour, for UC's tour. Everyone's going to have a different learning curve, and everyone's going to have a different, I don't even want to say a different level of success. I think a different measure of success.
Correct.
I think that's the important thing, because as they opened with, one of the obviously the main objective here is to put good-looking disc golf onto ESPN or an ESPN affiliate, somebody that can. We all know that if you said to something to your 80-year-old grandfather or your 10-year-old kid, they all know what ESPN is.
Yeah.
So that is their objective in mind, and that's the one thing that is, really sticking out here. I don't know how a person could complain about that if that is exactly what happens.
I think one of the worries is that if this doesn't go over, let's assume worst case, this doesn't go over well. No pros are there. No top pros are there, we'll say. Is this going to screw up disc golf on ESPN in the future? Is ESPN going to look back at this and go, well, this got like 1,000 viewers. Why would we ever put disc golf on? To be honest, I know it sounds crazy, I'm not worried about the production value. They'll work that out.
Yeah.
It's a pro company. They will do their due diligence. I'm more worried about whether or not it's going to see eyeballs, or if in the future we can look back and say, oh wow, that took us 2 steps back, or if we're gonna look back and say, wow, that took us 2 steps forward.
Yeah, correct.
There's no way to know right now.
Well, and I feel like no matter what happens, it's going to be a stepping stone.
Yep.
No matter how it shakes out.
We said it. Bamba said it last week. Not every. How did he phrase it? Not every mistake is bad.
Correct.
Sometimes we learn from our mistakes.
Or that it's not bad to fail.
It's not bad to fail.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
The couple of comments that are coming in off the board, and we're not obviously. I don't even have a chance to read every single one of them. I haven't read most of them, but just one of the comments that Paul Macbeth's not going to be there. Paul Macbeth's not going to be at a lot of events. I'll say that.
Correct.
Next year, just because he's not at this, I don't think necessarily is the ultimate thing.
No, because if you got 4 of the 5 other top pros, that's good enough.
So Paul Macbeth, I feel like it is what it is. There's a lot of things that will conflict with Paul Macbeth's schedule currently. Some of the other things, someone said, why are we buying into this? I feel like we're just trying to keep an open mind.
Yeah.
You can read the criticism, and I know plenty of you say you've experienced it, and that's totally fine.
Yeah.
I'm not discrediting your experience. We're saying, as broadcasters and people in the media, we've had none of that experience. Therefore, we're trying to remain as open-minded as possible because we have really no reason not to be.
Correct.
So I want to put that out there. You want to call us... I mean, I feel like we want to give everyone a fair shake.
Especially in the media.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
we want to see the media pushed forward because we think it'll help us in the long run, overall. So if this is a successful endeavor, it can... It can probably only be good for us.
Yeah.
Or drives us out of business.
Yeah, darn it. That would
Son of a gun.
Then
I'm gonna have an issue with
mad.
him.
Then we'll be mad.
So
yeah. Anyway,
Yeah.
so those are some of the things out there. I'm going to real quickly try to look through my notes. You talked about things like graphics need to be approved by ESPN, which I think is awesome. I think there's going to be a consistency in the things that they do. So
Quality.
anytime, we certainly don't have that quality control here, for instance. Yeah, that's you. But I think that's
I don't do graphics.
Having someone like ESPN, looking over it or approving it or whatever, I think that can only be a good thing. We already talked about all the target information, trying to get support from the community. And then I have here in capital letters, I think I asked him what was the biggest misconception that's out there. And he said, the biggest misconception that's dead wrong is that it's not going to happen.
It's going to happen.
Yeah, that's what
Correct.
he's saying. It is going to happen. This isn't.
They posted a picture of apparently there's a contract with ESPN of some sort that they are going to this. No one knows other than him probably, and maybe one other person. Nobody knows the details of this contract. That will probably, hopefully, come out in the next couple months. Or maybe we'll talk to him about it. Maybe he'll be able to give us more information.
I think there's a few things that he's specifically waiting on that need to happen and lock in.
I mean,
before he can share more.
All the tours are. I mean, when we talked to UC at the time, he wasn't sharing all the details with us because he didn't tell us about the whole, Paul Macbeth deal and things like that was announced like a day or two later. Steve Dodge is probably doing the same thing. He's keeping some things close to the vest so that he can announce them later or once he finalizes them, either to make a bigger splash or because he can't say anything right now. And all I know is that next year is going to be really fun and interesting for disc golf.
It certainly will. And one thing that I'll say is regarding the website information, and I'd say I read half of what was out there. I didn't get a chance to read every single word on the page.
Yeah.
But I will say there were complaints that UC's tour didn't have
Women.
enough information. Well, women, but didn't have enough information on the website. There was a complaint on here that Disc Golf Pro Tour didn't have enough information on the website. There's a complaint now on this tour. There's not enough information on the website. I'm sensing a theme.
Yeah, there's a complaint because you know what? No matter what you put out there, there's a question you didn't answer.
Exactly.
And I think some people are complaining that there's conflicting information up on the website.
Sure.
So it'll probably get sorted out.
I'm sure it will.
We'll find out more. Everyone will find out more. Right now, we can't not report on this because it's probably the biggest thing in disc golf this week.
Yeah.
And, some people are saying we need to do more research. There's not a lot more research to do. Terry, you talked to the guy, and he couldn't make it on tonight, but
I'm going to also say...
we'll hear more, and I'll follow the threads. I'll follow, we'll get all the information. I'm going to try to remain... I will remain unbiased because I got no beef with the guy. So I'm going to take what I can, and we'll just keep reporting more information.
Yes, there will be. He does have specifics laid out for having women involved with the tour. So, all right. Well, I think we have covered that.
I think we have.
As best as we can. I'm going to go on record and say, I have no reason to believe he's not where he said he was going to be tonight, being at a conference.
Oh, yeah.
Again, everybody wants to apparently knows his schedule more than I do, but saying that there's no way he's at one. You wouldn't have believed that I was up till 6 a.m. in Vegas maybe you would have believed that, but anything's possible.
I'll say this about your Vegas. I've known you a long time. I believe it in a heartbeat that you were up until 6 a.m. at Vegas. It wouldn't even cross my mind. Now the question is, were you editing video or were you out having fun? Because lately you've been going to these events, and I've even joked with you that we used to go to events, we'd play mediocre, we'd go out and party all night, and then we'd stumble back to our hotel room for about 2 or 3 hours of sleep and go out and play some more. And that's what we enjoy doing. Now you're filming all day, you're going back to the hotel, editing all night, getting like 3 or 4 hours of sleep, and then getting up and filming again.
There was no editing.
No, I know there wasn't this weekend. It was all fun this weekend, which is good because I think you. I hate to say you deserve it, but
it was great.
But it was I'm sure you had a good time.
For sure. All right, so there you go. That is the American Disc Golf Tour as we know it. Feel free to reach out to their website, their Twitter account, and do what you need to do to find out more information.
Yep.
We will continue, just like with all of the tours, we will continue to release any information as we know it, or if anyone has big updates or specific things that they want to talk about, they're more than welcome to join us here on the show. We'll ask Chris if maybe he wants to be on next week if things haven't sorted out by then. But if Chris does want to join us next week, we'd be glad to have him. I'm sure there's still going to be some questions out there.
Yeah,
and
we'll come up with more questions.
Yeah, I'm sure there'll be plenty out there. So, it was good stuff. All right, let's move on to anything else in disc golf that we could talk about tonight.
It's quiet, Terry.
It's
you've got the Halloween. Was there a pumpkin disc this year? I don't know why it popped in my head.
I know my boys over at Legacy.
Lantern?
Yeah, they did themselves a nice Steve Rico zombie stamp of sorts, a very special disc that was a limited release. Mm-hmm. I know that was available. I believe Innova came out, had their standard pumpkin related Halloween related disc.
Okay, and that was more my question of the Innova. I couldn't remember for sure if it was Innova that did that, so I didn't want to speak. But
it was they came out. Those came out a month or two ago.
All right,
you're way behind.
I am. I really am. I just I have life.
Yeah, that's what it is. There you go. There's a great conversation piece as well. Speaking of events,
the GBO.
Yes, our good friends over at Dynamic.
Get out there and register.
Yeah, well.
If you can.
Yeah, exactly. I know they tiered the registration system, offering it to the overseas players, and I feel like they maybe had more than they even anticipated, which it's awesome that people are coming from overseas. But I want to say there was close to 800 people registered already in the amateur divisions or the amateur side of things. I think one of our good friends from Wisconsin, good old Dustin Skorpinski, said he was registered.
Yep. Cool Daddy's Slick Breeze.
Ridiculous.
Bobby Brown says GBO registration opened yesterday at noon, and 866 players have already registered in 24 hours. First of all, Bobby, congratulations on keeping a website up.
Yeah.
There are too many times that we see disc golf companies release something, whether it's a piece of plastic or something, and within moments their website crashes. So congratulations on keeping that up. Second of all, congratulations on running a phenomenal event. It just goes to show that the history of that event is really propelling it into the future.
Yeah, I was a little shocked to see that GBO remained a national tour this year only because they're running the Pro Worlds a few months later.
I remember asking that exact same question to Rusko at GBO last year when it was announced that they were going to have Worlds. I said, or maybe it wasn't right to Rusko, maybe it was to Bobby. I said, is GBO going to be an NT or even an A tier? Are they even going to run one next year? And he Bobby, I think at the time had said, I hadn't heard anything different. So
yeah, so that's
volunteer.
Yeah,
that's a solid base to work with.
Wow, that's pretty incredible. And it also, I think, goes to prove how prevalent and how significant it is for the people in Emporia. Mm-hmm. You know, having all these people come to town, not 1 but 2 weeks throughout the year, I think means a lot to that city. And I think that's if Dee and the rest of that crew are able to take it on, then as I think they say, good on ya. Like that's pretty amazing. So congrats, guys. I'm guessing that'll be sold out very, very soon. So pretty sweet.
Yeah. So it may be sold out by the time some people are hearing this.
Yes. So
get out there if you haven't already, and you wanna get in the GBO. Go out and sign up right now.
Yeah, get on it. And one of the other things that I think is getting talked about more and more, and I know I'm going to say this. I'm going to say
Are you going to regret saying whatever you're going to say?
No, I've already seen a bunch of bitching about people saying, well, all these tournament registrations are opening for next year. Yes, they are.
Yeah.
You need to sign up. Like, that is the nature of where we're at with disc golf.
Yeah.
If you're serious about playing in an event, you got to get signed up early, and it helps everyone.
It's kind of funny. I'm thinking about, you hear, and maybe it's just because I've been hearing this locally, people always complain like, oh man, I don't have money till Friday. Can I pay you then on an event that happens that weekend? Like, and I kind of roll my eyes like, oh God, people, whatever. Isn't this better that you're paying for it now, and then when an event comes up, you don't have to pay? You're like, I'm already paid. Yeah. Or is it worse that, you now have to pay for all your events the year before? I don't know. I'm not sure where I stand on that. Before Christmas. Bobby, why you hit me up right before Christmas,
yeah,
man?
Bro.
My kids need toys.
Yeah. It's a very funny complaint, because they say that they want to get in. They for sure know they're going. They're for sure playing, but they don't want to pay for it ahead of time. But then, when events are held closer, and then they sell out in 12 hours, and everyone says, "Oh, I didn't have enough time," or "Why couldn't they have, stagger," whatever.
Are we going to be at GBO?
I don't know. I think you need to reach out to your local. You need to call your local GBO representative in Cool Daddy Slick Breeze, and you need to demand.
Should we give his phone number?
Yeah, put up his number. You need
to
demand to the Glass Blown Open staff that you want Smashbox TV there. Call your local representative now. Today, you get out and vote. You vote for Smashbox TV right now.
Wow. It's November 3rd. Don't we usually vote on November 2nd?
No, you vote on
Tuesday.
On the Tuesday.
Yeah, I suppose it's Tuesday.
So we're going to get a sticker that says, I voted, just like the I registered ones. They're going to say, I voted to step inside the Smashbox. Somebody make that for us, please.
I was hinting at that, but I was really saying, like, do you think you'll be there even if we're not doing broadcasting? Having been to the event last year and seeing what a phenomenal place it is, I'd love to go back. I'd love to go actually play an event, but I don't know if that'll happen. But I'd love to be there. No matter what happens.
I'm going to say this. If I am not there in a media capacity, that maybe one time I stand down and just not go. Not because I didn't love the event and think it's amazing. I just know I have 25 to 30 other weeks of the year where I'm going to be gone. So if I'm not, I know it sounds silly, but if I'm not working, I'm probably not going to go.
I bet you a lot of those involve me.
Yeah, God. Well, the thing is, you don't leave this basement most of the time.
I would love to leave this basement, Terry Miller.
Well,
can you
should
provide me with a big fat internet
you
pipe?
You go commentate. I'll stand here and hang out. We'll swap roles for a weekend.
Our wives would love that.
Well, never mind. I won't comment. Yeah, that would be kind of funny. So yes, we would love to do live stream, but I know Cool Daddy Slick Breeze is investigating options and researching them. So if we get the phone call that calls us up, maybe we could step in and make something happen. So, and that's true of any event. We already know that we talked to Steve Dodge. Obviously, the Pro Tour, we're looking to cover hopefully all of those events. But we need to start talking to our pals over at Discraft, over at the Memorial.
For the Memorial, I'm just thinking the ones we did last year.
Hopefully, they all want us back.
I hope so. We didn't burn any bridges, did we?
Not yet.
I mean, we
could. Yeah.
If we keep Dana on, we might.
Yeah, that guy. Gosh. Yeah. And then, yes, of course, the Cool Daddy Slick Breeze and EMAC versus DG Guy and Johnny V Challenge.
That's true. That could be a good weekend for that. If we went down a couple days early,
yes,
wipe the floor with those two.
Yeah, that would be a good way to go. So
EMAC has to play left-handed, right? That's the rule?
Yeah.
Okay.
One of the questions says, "Who else does live broadcast of Frolic?" And I think, do you mean frisbee golf?
I think maybe I don't know if they meant to go Frolf and it autocorrected. Veerdisc has done it.
Yep.
Disc Golf Planet is still doing it, as far as I am aware. I don't know.
Yeah, we're not sure of their plans.
Yep.
I know they've done it.
I heard that the Emporio Group is no longer doing it, but I don't know if it just didn't work out or if they just plan on doing local ones. But I don't think so. So right now,
don't say we're the best option, because that's a scary thought.
I won't say this.
No, we're not.
We're the only option.
Yeah, there you
I won't say we're the best. No,
only.
We're the only. I'll say this: we're the only live disc golf exclusive option.
Yes, we are. I think. Yeah. We'll go with that.
We'll go with that.
So anyway, if your event is interested
Reach
in
out to
having us, as always, I'll make a quick plug. If you want live, you want us there doing this crazy stuff and beyond. That's a Smashbox thing. You can't afford live because I'm a little cheaper alone. And you want Disc Golf Guy video blog coverage, also reach out to me. I mean, if you're gonna bring me to Vegas, we can work something out.
Is bottle service required?
I think that's gonna be in my rider. From
In your
here on
rider?
out.
Okay.
Yeah, bottle service and green M&Ms, thanks to some clever wording out there. That'd be the way to go.
All right. Should we go on? Do you have other than bottle service? Do you have a pick of the week?
Gosh, a pick of the week. Come back to me on
Okay.
that. I'm going to have to think of one.
I'm going to recommend a podcast. I've recommended other podcasts with a couple of with this particular host, but it's called Politics is the name. And if you take a wild guess at what it's about politics. One of the things I really enjoy, I enjoy politics. Not so much, left and right as far as who's going to win. I enjoy the process, and this kind of gets this. This is a one-man mic show where he just kind of gets on and he talks about, what happened this week in politics, who's doing what, and maybe his particular thoughts on them. It's by a guy named Justin Robert Young. So if you go out there and do a search for politics, I think it has like a bird on the front, so you'll know it's the right one. But he goes through all the poll. He goes through a bunch of poll numbers. He calls it the weekly poll dance. Wow. And he puts a bunch. He puts a bunch of music behind it, and he kind of gives an announcer type thing. It's really good. I think he has a pretty good insight as to what's going on. He's not, as far as I can. I think I know where he stands, but let's put it this way: he hides it pretty well. It's pretty evenly based, but it's called Politics. Go out there, subscribe, give it a listen or two. It's way shorter than our podcast. I think it's about 40 to 50 minutes usually. And his last one, he had some interview with somebody who works for a newspaper that actually, which is the only time I've ever heard him do an interview, that talks about the whole process of, how things work and why things are the way they are. And it's fun. It's interesting. It's different. So, and it's not always PC, by the way. It's explicit language sometimes.
The naughty stuff.
Anyway,
which you're all about. We talked
about this in the after show. Yes.
You are all about that.
So, do you have a do you have a pick or no?
I'm just gonna have to pick, big hug, whatever you want to call it. I just have to again give my accolades to and appreciation for all the guys over at Legacy. It was an awesome weekend. One of the things that I think was kind of the theme was that they work hard. They all year long. They do a lot of things for a lot of people out there. And this was a way to blow off a little steam. They were still sponsoring the event and so on and so forth. But this was a way. It was almost a little bit of a team building. I mean, it was a really good time. And I'm not just trying to flower up a crazy weekend in Vegas. It just all around was a really good time with really solid people. And then they were partnered up with the Las Vegas Disc Golf Club. So
cool. My
pick would be, go. And Derek Billings had said this during the round. Derek said that he's a club member, or will be a club member of more clubs now than ever. And he plays hardly any golf. He just likes supporting the clubs. And I kind of feel that same way. This year in Milwaukee County, we went to the pay-to-play for the first time ever. I didn't play a full round of disc golf in Milwaukee County at one point this year, but I bought 2 season passes at the beginning of the season, and I'm not even mad that I didn't play a single round of disc golf and essentially donated $80. Whatever. It was for the greater good. So great people, and glad to support whoever we can. And so Las Vegas Disc Golf Club. And Team Legacy. Thank you guys so much. You're my pick of the week for sure.
All right.
Yeah, that's it.
So we'll do a little bit of an after show. Stick around. I'm gonna try something new here. I'm gonna stop the podcast stream for a second, and I'm gonna start it right back up because one of our complaints lately has been like I think it was 2 weeks ago where we had a 4-hour
show on YouTube.
A 4-hour show on YouTube, and people look at that and go, 4 hours, really? So I'm gonna stop the show real briefly and then start it back up so it hopefully creates a new link just for the after show.
You should be able to stay right where you are.
Yep, don't move. Don't do anything. Just you're going to see a black screen for a couple seconds, and we'll be right back. I promise.
Yes.
I promise.
All right. So for podcast, for Johnny V and myself, this has been podcast number 60, along with Dana Vicich and some of our other reporting. We appreciate everyone that tuned in tonight. Thank you to Chris over at the American Disc Golf Tour. We look forward to having more information about that as it becomes available to us. We'll catch you guys next time when you step inside the Smash Box.
I didn't lie. We came back.
Guess who's back? Back again. Yeah, so welcome everyone. This is the Smashbox TV podcast number 60 after show.
After show.
So we're here.
Yeah, so hopefully now what I did is I stopped the stream. I renamed the live and I started the stream back up. So hopefully that breaks it into 2 streams. If not, I'm going to have to figure out how or why that doesn't work. So we will see if that does it.
So what is great about this, as many of you know, if you're a YouTuber or a live guy, or maybe you're coming back a day later, it becomes very daunting and scary to some when they see, oh yeah, the Tuesday night podcast was on. It's on YouTube. I'd like to pull that up while I'm getting ready in the morning or while I'm at work, except for it says that it's 4 hours. And that's because we had an hour and a half, 2 hours of the regular podcast, and then maybe sometimes 2 hours of nothing but straight BS that isn't directly related to disc golf necessarily.
I'm going to stop the stream again.
Okay.
Hold on. All right. We're back again. I think that restarted the stream now because I think maybe it was just a little too quick. So we're back again. So they did hear all that up until when I said we're going to stop the stream. I noticed that the time had kept going as far as like elapsed time. So we'll see. We'll see. Anyway.
Oh, it's still going again though.
It's going on here. It's not going on there. We'll see. I don't know. If it doesn't work, and we'll figure out another way.
Well, either way, we're glad you're here. This is episode 60's.
Episode 60. 60.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, we're
almost
a full year in.
Almost a year in. What should we do for our 1 year anniversary? Next week. Technically,
will be our 1 year
because it was 11/11.
It was 11/11. Next week will be 11/9 or 11/10. He's the third. Yeah, 11/10. So
next week, next week, our anniversary. We're gonna have to do something special, real special. I learned a few new tricks in Vegas that I think we could apply here.
Podcasting tricks,
something like that.
Okay.
And next week, holy cow, will be our 1 year anniversary. So
someone says drinking games.
Maybe if I stay here for the night, we could do our own here. That would be pretty funny. The same, I would anticipate the same live link may continue the total recording. It was a few weeks ago about cussing Terry, almost letting one slip. I'll clarify. I don't mind some swearing. I swear. I don't mind swearing. I think swearing on the course with, especially with people around, that's where I start having an issue. But swearing in itself, I can handle. So, and I occasionally swear myself. So,
you would.
So, the swearing was my fault.
Oh, awesome! So right now it says that our Vegas and Halloween Classic is processing. Okay. So I believe that means that it has created a new one. And this will be a new after show.
Wow, that's pretty exciting.
So I hope so. So that's the case. There'll be no one in my basement next week other than us. Well, I can't say that, but there'll be no talent downstairs. Let's put it that way.
Define talent.
You and I are not talent.
Oh. So this is the after show anyway, where it's usually kind of sort of still focused on disc golf, but not necessarily. We do a lot more interacting. We try to keep up a little bit more on the message board, which was exploding. I hardly read anything.
That discussion went.
What's the word?
I don't know what the word I want to use was. It was
not haywire.
No, it was enthusiastic.
Enthusiastic.
That the message board was blowing up.
It was heated.
I barely got to read some of it because it was flying so fast, and I was talking to you and reading what was on your computer and trying to keep Dana enthused because for a while it looked like he was going to fall asleep.
Some other adjectives that came in were heated, nuclear, off the rails, mob, cluster F. Those were a lot of the things that some of the guys were using to describe the discussion. Again, I read almost none of it.
Chris Cobb brings up a point that we kind of brought up similar about the other tours. He says, with the tours that have been announced, there's a clear message to Brian Graham that the PDGA is doing things that have made many players unhappy or dissatisfied, and maybe now he'll listen. I don't necessarily know if that's true. A, I don't necessarily know if he'll listen, but B, I don't necessarily know if that's the message that's out there because of these tours. I just think that people want to try something new.
And I think we're seeing some more creativity. And like you just said, I know that goes along with trying something new, but creativity, everybody has a slightly different mission for their tour.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the other positives that we can take away from here. In terms of what Chris is trying to do with this American Disc Golf Tour, it seems to me that ESPN and the affiliates that go along with it are the number one goal and focus of this tour happening. And that's one of the first things people say is we'll get big, or disc golf has made it, or whatever. I'm all on board with disc golf. We just needed to get to ESPN. And in some form or capacity, this is where he's starting.
Correct. This is where he's starting. I'll say this. The cool thing about ESPN and ESPN2 is you can channel surf to it. You can click, boom. Oh, look, that's pretty cool. Wonder what this is. ESPN3, that's not happening.
Sure.
It is a destination similar to YouTube, where you come in, and if you know what's happening, you will log in with your cable subscription. If not, you will never know what's happening. So I don't say that's a criticism. I just think that's a downside of being on that particular channel. But we don't really have a choice. It's not like I can say, no, we're going to be on ESPN 1 or 2.
Yeah.
So.
And there's nothing to say that that's where it couldn't graduate to, or would it couldn't elevate to or get pulled into. I mean,
if there's some awesome players, some really cool shots or anything like that, we could see some highlights on we've seen highlights on SportsCenter. So they would just be better quality production highlights, and maybe we could even bump up to ESPN2. I don't know.
So I think that's something that's really positive that can be seen from it. One of the questions that had just come in asking if the AMs will get paid in cash. And this is nothing more than a guess. I'm going to guess that's not going to happen.
I would say no. I don't foresee there being a lot of difference in how the tournament is run as far as cash versus funny money for pros versus AMs.
And for those who, I guess I'm not even sure because I was just linking or clicking on things today. It's AmericanDiscGolfTour.com if anyone's interested in checking it out.
Yep.
A link doesn't really post when you're out on YouTube, but AmericanDiscGolfTour.com is where you want to look. And again, there's a bunch of information out there. I know that there was a lot of conversation specifically regarding rules. I didn't read every single one of the rules today. I really should have.
I breezed through them, but I was busy at work today, so I didn't get a chance to break it down. My assistant was gone for half the day, which made me had to do work, and I was a little disappointed.
You poor baby.
I know. I get paid good money to not do work, and I had to do work today.
Yeah.
How many people does Smashbox get for their live streams? It depends what you're talking about, for the podcast or for the for our events, and it depends on the event. We've seen 3,000, 4,000, 5,000. I believe we hit at Maple Hill. I think we hit 5,000.
Yep, just about 5,000.
At last year's
live concurrent viewers.
Live concurrent viewers.
So that means 5,000 people
sitting in
5,000. Well,
5,000.
That means 5,000 devices.
5,000 devices. So
at least
people could be watching in groups.
Yes, and we assume each one of those devices is being watched by about 15 to 40 people. So we figure there's 100,000 people watching it now.
Sure.
But no, it is cool. Obviously, we see people say like, "Oh, we're having a Maple Hill final round party," and people will come over and 20 people will be watching on someone's TV or something. So,
Yeah.
But yeah, you're looking at nearly 5,000 in some of our bigger ones. I'm going to go on record right now.
Okay.
And say that Johnny V and I agree on this, so we're going to go on record and say
I don't know if I want you speaking for me.
I do not believe whatever analytics are used over on that whatever
on
live stream.
On live stream, Disc Golf Planet has used live stream in the past, and we have seen. I was kind of surprised at some of the numbers I've seen coming out of them in the past. I was like, wow, that's quite a bit. And then having done this now for 2 years, seeing what some of our most major events do, for instance, like USDGC that we broadcast, the GBO,
the Memorial,
the
Maple Hill Open. Here's basically all of the biggest events of the year.
The views we were getting were
still a fraction,
fraction of what they had said they were getting. And I'm not calling them liars because I think those are the numbers that they're getting, but the numbers I think are added differently between YouTube views and live stream views. So, and I don't know how that works. I don't know how. I do know a YouTube view is constituted as someone or a device logging in and watching at any given time. I don't know how live stream counts it, or if live stream has some other. I don't know. But what I do know is that I trust our numbers very well because I know that YouTube knows exactly what they're doing as far as views. So,
and let me to further clarify the point, just so there's no confusion. We're not saying that someone like Disc Golf Planet or the Emporia Group, who also used live stream, we're not saying their numbers that they presented to the world were inaccurate.
No, not at all.
We're saying that live stream inaccurately produces numbers.
I think that I don't even want to say that. I'm saying that
I just did for you.
Okay. The numbers that they're getting are almost unrealistic compared to what we're seeing.
I suppose. I mean, YouTube doesn't know what they're doing.
and so I just think that they count views differently. That there's
by like making them up, or
maybe that the numbers are definitely strange. And unless I know this sounds strange, unless somehow live stream is getting a ton of random views from random people, like, oh, I'm gonna go to live stream and see what's streaming today, and there's 3,000 people that do that and that happen to fall on disc golf, or 5,000 or 7,000 depending on the numbers you're talking about, and maybe it's harder to find on YouTube. I don't know, but I'll say that the numbers
they're just so drastically different.
They're drastically different,
and that's especially doing some continuous research,
especially for USDGC this year, which was the biggest event of the year. The numbers we saw
compared to what have been published or announced in the past, they're so drastically different.
Yeah.
And there was just as much of a storyline, if not more, this year.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Leading into it, and so on and so forth. It's just and we've done other research that's led us to this too. So don't make it seem like we're just negative Nelly or we're discrediting anyone else's work. We're just saying the comparisons aren't even close in terms of how it's been done. Dutch had chimed in earlier saying that there were 32 people watching at the Dark Horse disc golf store when he was on. I think it's when he was on.
Well, yeah, everyone's there.
But I'm saying there were 32 people watching one device.
But those were all Dutch's family. Those were hey Dutch.
Yeah, so very very cool. So something that's I think worth noting. There's been advantages to live stream, but not enough that we found. So when we came out with Smashbox,
we wanted to go to YouTube.
It was actually perfect timing. YouTube was just offering the service of live streaming if you had X amount of viewers or subscribers or whatever.
And now anyone can do live streaming regardless of the number of viewers, and they're expanding. And hands down, they're the number one video place on the internet. Followed up shortly by Facebook, I think, is now the number 2. But yeah, it's kind of crazy.
Yeah, it's weird.
And I think, honestly, in the next year, you're going to see Facebook announce some sort of live broadcasting.
Interesting.
Yeah, which I don't know how I don't know any details, but just the way that they're moving into video, they're moving into. There's apparently they have a version of like Periscope that only celebrities have, I believe. So to communicate, and I think that's kind of their testing ground. Like they're giving it to just a few people, and you're going to see this kind of push out further. I think you're going to see live internet broadcasting expand dramatically over the next 3 to 4 years.
And hopefully, obviously, our plan will be to stay on top of all the technologies as we can and continue to move things forward and take advantage of all those resources that are out there that are practical. So that's one thing that's very exciting about where we're at right now is we've been putting in all this grunt work and all this time and learning and testing. But as the technologies get better, hopefully we're going to be able to stay right on top of them and then just continue to improve on what we're doing as we move forward.
Yeah, so. And Trevor, who says he can't watch YouTube Live on your TV, that's a very true thing. What I would recommend is getting a Chromecast. Chromecast works. They just released a new version of Chromecast. Get the Chromecast video. There's a Chromecast audio now as well. So go out and get for $35 or $30. Go out and get Chromecast video. It can plug into any TV, right into the HDMI, and it just logs right into Wi-Fi. You never have to worry about YouTube Live, and you never have to worry about I have a 5-year-old Samsung TV, which I know doesn't do YouTube Live, but or you can go with a Roku or anything like that. The new Roku 4 was just released or is about to be released.
Wasn't that a criticism of a previous Roku that it didn't offer?
Correct, because it was flat, because YouTube used to be Flash based. Now it's HTML5. I believe I've heard that Roku will do all the live video.
Okay. We should give out some Chromecasts as some gifts.
I think it'd be kind of cool. Yeah,
either a Chromecast or something along those lines.
And I'll be curious because Apple
Maybe
TV
Google
just
should sponsor us.
That'd be awesome. Apple TV just announced a new Apple TV, and it just went on sale yesterday or today.
Okay.
So I haven't had a chance. I'm thinking about buying one just so I can kind of stay on top of it. But we'll see if I'm assuming YouTube Live works on it because YouTube Live worked on the other Apple TV as well. So.
Sweet. One thing I will say, especially here in our after show, feel free to chime in if you got information. I see our board is pretty active tonight, which we love to see and read. Jason LeCain from southeastern Wisconsin on the board. Glad to have you, Jason. And Nate Simpson, Beats 1982, a lot of our regulars. But by all means, if you have a question or a statement of sorts or we're probably not going to pitch your event too much, so you don't have to tell me about your C-tier that's taking place next Wednesday, or your C-tier league round that's wrapping up. But if you guys have other stuff, feel free to chime in. Jordan Castro is, of course, here, liking everything as he does.
Yeah, there's a big joke about that, giving thumbs up.
Hey, Jordan, it's better you're liking everything than disliking it. We appreciate it.
And Trevor is saying that he just plugs his laptop directly into his TV, which works as well via HDMI. I'll say the only downside of that is then you don't have a laptop to watch. A lot of people like to watch live scoring on their laptops. They always have it up and then view it on their TV, view the Chromecast via the TV. So that's all. That's the only thing I'll say.
Daniel is a first-time watcher. Glad to have you here, buddy. Disc Golf 724 says, Terry, what's up with the guy flaming you on Facebook about the Wisconsin conference?
I know that.
Okay, so there's this guy in Wisconsin, and I feel like a lot of you Smashies may appreciate this. There's a gentleman in Wisconsin, I use the term loosely, who called me out this weekend, admittedly so, called me out saying that Wisconsin was having the most important day, and there was a summit going on for Wisconsin mover and shakers. And he called me out for not being there. Again, I was in Vegas.
Doing real work?
Doing work that I was contracted for by Legacy and the tournament. But he was calling me out saying that I should be there. And I appreciate it. A lot of people came to my side or defense. However you want to word it. And, so he was saying that I needed to be in Wisconsin that day. And I have a history with this guy. And I've told this to him to his face, and we talk about it frequently. He is really good at never thinking. He then sputters out some of the dumbest stuff you could ever hear. Then I call him on it. Then I correct him. Then usually he apologizes, wants to bury the hatchet. He's always the one that wants to get over it. And then
within about 6 months later,
he hits repeat. and it's the exact same thing.
Yeah.
So, and I have no problem saying it live on the air because I've said it to his face. One of the most recent times was last December after a tournament I ran. He wanted to again apologize. I said, stop saying stupid shit. Stop being an idiot. Stop doing what you do. And a few months later, he reset and he went at it again, and then reset and went at it again. So that's the story. I wish it could be, and it doesn't have to be that way. But
this Wisconsin Summit was for, it was for, as they say, movers and shakers in the state to get their ideas out there.
To voice some opinions and get their ideas out there.
And he had said that because you have such great opinions that you should be there and that you're the state coordinator.
Yes, the PDGA state coordinator.
PGA state coordinator. But there is another event for tour directors coming up next month or later this month.
So, usually every year, or not usually, every year, me and 4 to 6 to 8 other Wisconsin disc sports board members get together. We take an entire Saturday, and for anywhere from 4 to 8 hours, we sit and talk about the state of disc golf. I present a schedule that I've worked on for dozens of hours. We talk about what's happening in the national scene, which has kind of now become a report that I provide almost because I'm out on the national scene a lot. We talk about all of these things at, we'll say, the next level up, along with some of the smartest, most godfathered people in the state, and that's where
not just in the state. Some of them are, you would say, are godfathers in the country of the sport.
And so I always do that, and not to mention the thousands of other meetings and things that I get involved with. But anyway, it's Todd Farnham. I don't know if that's supposed to be a secret.
No,
or not.
It's not.
Since
I
people saw it.
I don't even know if the post is still out there. He has a tendency to do that.
He posted it on his own page. I feel sorry for him because he says a lot of stupid stuff. A lot. He just doesn't think well about what he posts.
Yeah.
And it catches up with him.
Yeah.
So good for you, Todd. Keep up it.
All right.
One of the I'll bring this up on I guess we're on a national level, but
yeah, we are.
So pay to play happened.
We're on a galactic level, Terry.
Pay to play happened in our local area. I referenced it earlier in Milwaukee County of Wisconsin, and one of the things that was not put into the original pay to play documentation was that funds generated by the disc golfers need to stay within, or people, we'd like to see it stay within the disc golf arena.
So when you bought a season pass for $40, $45 or $40, rather than just have that put in the big county budget and then go wherever
to a general fund,
we were fighting to make sure that it was put back into the disc golf community.
Which they don't owe that to anyone.
Not at all.
Just like when I feel like. Just like when I pay my property tax, I don't get to call up my local alderman and demand and say, well, I just paid my property tax.
Come fix my sidewalk.
This needs to, exactly. Come fix my sidewalk today. Or I'd like to see 70% of my property tax money go right to the sewer or the garbage or whatever. Like, you don't normally get to demand where your tax money goes or your fee money. You can ask. And that's exactly what some of the local club and local people did last year. Is as soon as this came out, they said, we'd really like for the funds to be put back into disc golf. They ultimately approved that. Awesome. I think that's great. They didn't have to, but they approved it. And then for the following budget season, they didn't have that amendment in there. And just last night on a local level, some disc golfers voiced their opinions. And I guess they again approved that, yes, money generated within the disc golf budget will be put back into the disc golf budget. And that's great. And that's amazing. Yeah. So because I'm with you, and I don't feel that it's owed to us. I'm glad it's happening, and I would love to either see more holes put in our city, or in different parks, or just some practice baskets at smaller parks or something, or just put back into course development any which way imaginable, but they don't owe it to us. I mean, we're using their property, so. Exactly. So the reason why I bring it up, and the reason why I bring it up, even though it's a Milwaukee area thing, is it's something to think about in your area, that if there's a pay-to-play, and it's happening, you can ask, inquire, say, and I would do it in the most polite way, or do your own research, but find out where maybe those funds are being appropriated to, and then maybe you can clarify and say, hey, are these going, are some of them going back, or all of them? And if they're not, maybe you can get in front of a local board and ask for that amendment or that adjustment. So that's something that I think is really awesome. I'd like to thank our local club members and the local college club members and everyone else that was part of that. A meeting I wasn't at last night. I guess Todd wasn't there either, and he's a course pro for one of these courses. So Todd, how are you not at the most important meeting of the year? That's my question. Anyway,
one of the things we forgot to mention during the show, some small news. Discraft had teased out an announcement. They teased an announcement.
That's my style.
That is your style. And basically, I think people were kind of disappointed because what they teased looked like a shadow of a bee. So they're typical, maybe they're buzz or their wasp. Mm-hmm. And then what it turned out to be was they opened a Discraft factory store.
Very nice.
So they now have misprints, and I think they've always actually had a misprint store. Yeah. But now they're actually adding collectibles and accessories, things of that nature. Some limited edition stuff. It looks like they have some out of production stuff as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. So. Yep. Gives you a chance to go out if that suits your fancy. Definitely go check it out.
Yeah, if you're a big Discraft guy, discraftfactorystore.com, and you can find some of that stuff out there. So
clever name.
Yeah.
I can appreciate that. Yeah, some people talking about
good for SEO.
Disc golf bags. We've talked about them before, and they've been great. Johnny V and I both have a Fossa bag, and I know way back near World's Time we had talked about them. Pro World's Time, that they're awesome. I've had nothing but great experience with mine.
Yeah, my Fossa bag has worked out very well. I know that they're doing some updates to them is what I heard.
Correct.
So you might, I hate to say it, you might want to hold off on buying one right now, but if you want one, I have no problem. I have no problem using them. Yeah, I did see the EMAC Wasps on there and the Page Pierce Stalkers as the out of production stuff. Kind of funny.
I have quite a few Page Pierce Stalkers. When I heard that she may not be continuing her ways with Discraft, I made sure to stock up. So
you're sitting next to one.
I managed to stock up. Get it? Stock up.
Just kidding.
That was mildly clever. Anyway,
not really. Yeah, if you're looking for something that's not a bag and you want a cart, I like the Ridge Roller. I have one myself. I have one of the first models. I could use one of the new ones, but I just don't play enough golf to justify it. But they're really nice as well. The Ridge Rollers are. You can get them custom colors and whatnot. Joe's a pretty legit guy.
All right. Doesn't like having that. Trevor says he doesn't like having the same bag as someone else. Lots of grips. And I was going to get a Voodoo, and then two friends got one.
I know.
Talk about #disc golf problems.
I know. When your buddies get the same bag as you, you know? Or you know what? Go with one of the DD bags. They've got like 1 million colors.
They do
on one bag.
They do have a lot of different.
They got a lot of different styles and stuff. If you're looking for the DD bags, are pretty unique in their shape and their color schemes.
I would like to extend an invitation. Jason LeCain just brought this up. I'd like to extend an invitation for all of you, every one of you out there, to come to southeastern Wisconsin right after Thanksgiving.
Oh yeah.
And play in my Cold Turkey 10. It is a PDGA C tier for all the pro divisions. So 100% that I take in for payouts is what I'll pay back out, minus my PDGA fees. And I specifically made the amateur side, all AM divisions, a B tier. So what that does for you is it allows you to get more points for next year's AM Worlds taking place here in Madison, Wisconsin.
One of the last chances you'll probably get to get a big group of points.
Yes, so it is a PDGA B tier for all AMs. Again, I did that explicitly so that you could earn more points if you're an amateur or trying to earn more for next year's Worlds. So please go out to iregisteredonline.com. We're taking registrations. It's been up for a month. I haven't promoted as well as I should have yet, but it's out there and it's been available. Yeah. So it's the Saturday and Sunday after Thanksgiving. All pros play Saturday, plus maybe advanced men, and then everyone else plays on Sunday. But if you want to double up, play advanced men on Saturday, then come back and if you're eligible, play one of the other divisions on Sunday, and get as many points as you can for AM Worlds. All a PDGA B tier for AMs.
Great course too. I've played there. Gray Fox. Luke H, which is Luke Canewell. I don't
Probably.
know. Asks, do you ever see disc golf having a disc limit for tournament play? Is there a need for that? I don't see there being a need for it. If you want to carry 50 discs, I have no problem with you carrying 50 discs. I don't think there should be a limit. I know there is a limit in the number of sticks you can carry in ball golf.
13.
Is it 13?
I'm pretty sure. 13 clubs.
Steve's on here, so he'll tell us.
Steve Mills. Chime in.
He just moved, he said, next to a golf course. So, but I don't really see a point in having a limit. You know,
I don't think it's necessary. I think there's just 6 to 8 to 10 other much bigger things
at least,
and or rules that I'd care about before I'd worry about that. I feel like if you want to carry them, more power to you. I don't really have a problem with that.
Steve Mills asks, how can he become an AM again?
Damn, 14 clubs. I was so close. Okay, yeah. 14 with a putter. Okay.
So, yeah, totally wrong.
That's what I was thinking when I said 13.
I don't think you were.
You gotta give me some credit. I wasn't too far off. At least I didn't say like 22.
That's true. You didn't. Steve Mills asks how he can be an AM again, and Steve, I think you know the answer. You can actually for those that don't know, you can petition the PDGA to move down if you haven't played for a while, or if you just give a good solid reason. I don't know if they've ever turned anyone down for.
I'm sure they have.
You think so?
Yeah, I'm sure they have. American Disc Golf Tour limit is 30. Very interesting, Nate. That is not something that I picked up earlier.
Yeah, I didn't notice that.
And then there's talk about Felberg having carried 53 at 8 Worlds. I believe that. Felberg needs 40. Yeah, there's I guess interesting. I think 30 is definitely on the high side anyway. If you're carrying more than 30, I think you need to reevaluate.
You should either be really good, where you know what every one of those discs does, or you're overthinking. One or the other.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's a lot of discs.
Yeah. I think
so. Felberg carries 30, 40, 50 discs, has won a world title.
Yep.
Ron Russell carried like 6 and has won a world title. So what do we know?
Yeah. But Felberg's the type of guy that he knows what every one of those discs does, and he can if it's a roller that needs to go slightly left versus slightly right. I've got no problem with those pros carrying that many discs. It's you crazy AMs that are out there carrying so many discs that learn 1 or 2 or 3 discs and learn them very well. So
yeah, most pros carry about 25. I think that's maybe even on the high side, but sure, I would say 18 to 20, maybe 22 is about normal for most of our pros, assuming they're playing a course they know and they've got all the discs that they really want. If you're carrying more discs than your scorecard strokes, reevaluate your bag.
Yeah, Rico did used to carry a ton of discs.
He still
carries a lot.
Few.
Not as many as there's a very distinct image I have of him at 2011 Worlds where he had like the 3-sided backpack that he
still does.
Does he still have it?
Yes.
Like where it's 2 on the side with the middle one and yeah.
Yeah, he carries a lot of discs with him as well. Someone asked about our thoughts on Stokely. Stokely has been really busy. I did actually think of this earlier for the show yesterday. He's announced that he's doing this tour of clinics and demonstrations. And I think it's doubles, maybe is a large part of it, actually.
Possibly.
I believe that's what it is. And I noticed the geography because immediately, and it's like everything else. As soon as somebody puts something up and says, hey, guys, I'm doing this really amazing thing, the first criticism is, why isn't it near me? You suck. But that's what a lot of people said yesterday.
Yeah.
And so he's in his geographic region was very...
Is it around Ohio?
Ohio-based. Yes.
There might be a reason for that.
There might be, if you've watched previous episodes. Stokely's out doing his thing. He's running a ton of clinics. He's working with a lot of special needs. Everyone within special needs spectrums, he's busy and he's doing really good work out there.
I like him. I think he's doing a lot of great work. He's kind of a cheese ball. That kind of goes along with being Stokely. I can give or take a couple of the things he does online, but for the most part, I think what he's doing is good. So more power to him. At some point, we'll have him on the show. I'm sure. It's just a matter of,
sure.
Yeah. Did you catalog the Smashbox discs?
I did. They're ready.
They're
I shipped out 2 more. No. Yeah, 2 more today.
Yeah.
Shipped out some more. They're all cataloged. So if you've reached out to me or if you haven't yet, you should. Because now we're running out. No, we're not running out yet. But definitely reach out to me. I have still the 8 molds. I do have some in every single mold. The Glow Champ Rock 3s are running the slimmest pickings right now. Color Glow Champ Rock 3s are the slimmest pickings. But
I will take one of whatever's left.
Yes.
Because I don't really care. I just want one. I think it's kind of cool.
Yes. So they're all cataloged. Shoot me a private message. And tomorrow, more than likely, tomorrow morning, if you get to me early enough in the morning and we have a conversation about exactly what you want, I'll give you all the options. It will get shipped out tomorrow as well. So there's a couple already that are for sure going out.
Do we have any pink ones?
There are some pink ones.
All right, there you go.
Yes, some pink. Depends on exactly what you want, but there are some.
What's your opinion on college disc golf? I'm not sure if I understand if it's like collegiate
or if
events
you mean generically or the yeah, I'm not sure exactly what you mean, but I'm all for it. It's had a huge impact. There's literally thousands of collegiate disc golf players out there now, and they have their big event usually in April.
Yep.
There's camaraderie. There's people that are traveling. There's clubs that are serious about it. There's backers. Awesome. There's instructors that are doing things with it. I think all around it's really good. So,
is there a place anyone can see the discs that we have, or do you have like a list that you're sending to people?
I just really have a list.
Okay.
You tell me what model of the 8 you want, and I do a little screen grab and show you the number it is. I show you the disc. Excuse me. The official number that I've cataloged it is. I tell you what color the stamp is, which stamp it is, what color the disc is, and what the weight is. So pretty much everything you need to know.
Steve Mills asks, can you take cash and still play college disc golf? I believe you can. I believe that they're for the collegiates, they might even have divisions, so to speak.
That's a James Proctor question. Actually, let's look up James Proctor because he won.
Yeah, I think you can still. I think you can be a pro and still play at the collegiates as a college player in whatever.
James Proctor, I believe, was your collegiate champion. Yes, he's the National College Disc Golf Champion in the individual division. It's considered an X-tier major. He took first place this year, and he has also cashed in every other event he's played in except for one. So
apparently there's a limit, though, is what James Proctor had said. Ben Slakely chimes up on the board, and he had spoken to James, and James mentioned something about there being a limit. So
yeah, I'm not at the end. I mean, that event happened back in April, as I was saying. And maybe, I don't know what that number is, that total number. I can tell you that James Proctor is currently rated 1019 and has won $13,083.
Okay.
Total.
Someone asked what the collegiate playing format is. It's like a team-based, almost, I mean, I would equate it to Ryder Cup style, except with college teams. So
I think they have a bunch of different formats.
They've got a bunch of, and on top of that, not just disc golf, but they have other games and stuff. They've got a guts tournament there. I think they have an ultimate if you want. There's a lot of things going on at that collegiate event. So if you're in college or you're going back to college, take a look into it. See if you can get a team together. So.
And I'm trying to find their website. I don't know if it's collegiate disc golf or college disc golf, but something along those lines. And I'm sure collegediscgolf.org. I was going to .com. Go to collegediscgolf.org, and you will, I think you'll find a whole bunch of the information out there that you might want.
Cool.
Yes, that's one of them, the National Collegiate Championships.
Yeah, one of my most vivid memories was from 2000 Worlds in Michigan, watching, was it 2000 or 2001?
Michigan was 2000.
Yeah, it was the combined Worlds. Was watching Stokely play guts and thinking, I don't want to be on the other side. Yeah. Watching him wind up, and that was 15 years ago. He was in the prime of his throwing career, and thinking, there's no way people are catching that. And a couple people did. He would just wind up and whip it as hard as he could. So, yeah.
Yeah, pretty sweet. Go out there. ncdgc.com will also get you out to the National Collegiate Disc Golf Championships for some information out there.
We should start a Smashbox College.
There you go.
Yeah. he'll go with our Smashbox tour.
It could be an online university.
Yeah.
I mean, that would only make sense with the the work that we do.
It would, and we could do like clinics and all sorts of crazy stuff.
Yeah, it would be pretty sweet. Then there's conversation about limits for touring standards. Yeah, again, for the collegiates,
It's all on the page.
You could do some information and find out exactly what that is. What about the guy that got racked by the champ?
I don't recall that. I don't know that story. I don't know anyone. I saw Stokely get hit in the chest at Kansas City.
Yep.
And I saw Stokely play guts, but I've never seen. I once hit a guy in the face in Minnesota. Other than that, and I saw Terry's girlfriend at the time take a disc to the head and spin around like 360 degrees and fall straight down. Knocked her cold out. Had to go to the hospital.
And to also give a free plug out there for Stokely, I wanted to confirm, yes, if you go to sostokely.com, you can keep up with some of his...
I'll say this. Clearly blue is the kind of the thing for them. I like his website. It's very clean. And I do like the hair logo that he has at the top. The So Stokely logo.
Mm-hmm. So Stokely.com. The third Esquire asks, what is guts? Yeah, sorry, we've referenced a few times, but guts is a very old Frisbee game where you take a special disc that's made for it, but it's very Frisbee-like in terms of its weight and its size. It doesn't look like a golf disc per se.
Is it 130 grams?
110, maybe 130,
okay.
Maybe 90, somewhere in, I don't know. I think it's over 100.
Yep.
And you line up, I want to say is it 15 meters or 10 meters?
I think it's 10.
10 meters apart from one another. No, it's not 30 feet. That's too close.
Is it?
Maybe it is. Anyway, it's like 10 or 45 feet, 1,000, I don't know. And you throw, usually it's a line of 5 against another line of 5, and you throw.
Someone's saying 4, but whatever.
Okay. Yeah, 4 or 5. And you throw this disc as hard as you can at the other line.
Try to get past them.
Yes, and there's a certain height that it can be at, and in terms of height and how low it can be, and it's got to come in at a certain angle. But you're essentially throwing a disc as hard as you can to try and penetrate across. So it's like Red Rover, but with a disc.
Red Rover, send that 80-mile-an-hour disc over.
Exactly, and so that's what it's like. So you're standing there, hands to hands with you and your teammates in a line, and you're waiting for this disc to come flying at you, and then you have to catch it cleanly with one hand.
One of my other favorite memories
Can't trap it.
Was from the Am Worlds that you ran, at the players' party, watching these kids play guts with regular golf discs.
Yeah, not such a bright idea.
It was on an indoor soccer place, and for some reason people got out there and they were putting, and it kind of naturally turned into guts. So people are throwing like Valkyries and Casey rocks. They were standing, thankfully, more than 30 feet apart. They were usually about 80 to 100 feet apart. But watching people just wind up and throw these discs at each other, I didn't get in there because I'm smart.
Yeah.
But it was funny to watch these kids do it.
Yeah, it wasn't so bright at the time, but lots of people were doing it. So that's guts. It's actually a pretty old school game. I know it's actually was really popular in Wisconsin and in the UP of Michigan, and it's been played for a lot of years, and it's a lot of fun. So in a sense, yeah, as Dan Harbeck has chimed in saying it's like dodgeball, except for you're standing in a one line.
Yeah.
Yes, you're launching at the other team, but the other team can't run around in an area. You are standing in a line just waiting for a disc to come flying at your face at 60 to 80 miles an hour. So it's gutsy. It's
gutsy.
It's a lot of fun. Yeah, it's definitely a good time. I know the first time I ever played it was 1995, and
I've never actually played. I've watched it played, but I've never stepped in.
It's a very, very good time. All right.
Which one of the young up-and-comers do you guys think will have the biggest impact in the Pro Tour next year? Proctor, Gibson, McMahon, or someone else? I think I don't know if you consider Gibson a newcomer. He's been around for a couple of years now.
Technically, McMahon has been as well, as has Proctor,
well,
actually.
McMahon, this is like McMahon's first real year on tour that he hit a lot of the big spots. He's been a local for a while. But I'll say McMahon. I mean, I think he's gonna have the the biggest. I think he'll have the best year of those for the events he plays. If you took all the events that they played equally, I bet you he finishes. It's going to be close, but I bet you he finishes a little bit better than than those guys in general, average.
Well, I'll say until he gets his together, he's not going to be on the show. We're just kidding.
He likes to chime in early and leave. So, but I mean, Drew Gibson, I wouldn't. He's an up and comer, but he's been around for a while. He's such a solid player. It's amazing. I think he'll be fine.
One of the things that recently, I would say this is certainly newsworthy, is that the A-tier schedules were released for the PDGA. So how this always happens every year, and it's getting more and more fluid each year and efficient, I would say, is the PDGA works with different clubs and individuals to announce the majors and the national tours. They did that a few weeks ago. And then after those dates and details have been selected and finalized, that's when people have the chance to then submit to become an A-tier tournament to try and get on the schedule as an A-tier. Just in the last day, those were finalized and announced, and A-tiers are now out on the schedule. And now, if you want to run a B or a C-tier tournament, now you go to your state coordinator, you tell them, hey, I'd like to run a tournament on such and such date. And then there's certain restrictions to how close it can be to other tournaments like the A-tiers or the NTs, so on and so forth. So that's what's happening right now, and that's actually one of the main duties of any state coordinator, myself and others. That's one of the main duties of the state coordinator role, is to help organize all these different tournaments that are going on.
Someone just announced a World Pro Guts Tour. So
that sounds like a good idea.
Now you're talking.
Yes, we have the Guts Nationals. I was going to say up in the UP, that's Guts headquarters. Like that's where Guts is.
Yeah, it seems
up in the UP, which
seems to be more popular up here. Not much to do in the cold winter.
Yeah, it's all state coordinators should be doing that anyways. I'm not sure what you mean by that, Beats, but yeah, that's one of the main roles of what the state coordinator should be doing. And if you're in Rhode Island, not to pick on you, Rhode Island rep, whoever you are, if you're in Rhode Island and you have 4 events all year, or 10, or 3,
state coordinator is a little less difficult.
It might be a little less challenging. I know in Wisconsin, when it's all said and done, we're probably going to have anywhere between 40 and 60 sanctioned tournaments that take place in Wisconsin. Maybe that's a little high. I don't know. It's going to be a lot. And obviously, places like Texas. California actually has 2 state coordinators.
North and south?
Yeah, they have a NorCal and a SoCal state coordinator because there's so many tournaments, and obviously there's a lot of land to cover there. But it's definitely one of the biggest challenges and things that you find for being a state coordinator. I think that it would be good to get Guts going. People, yeah, and Beats says that there's going to be some people that complain that there's not enough. I've said it before. There's a lot of people who think if we reduce the amount of events that are available to the world, that the ones that are out there are going to get bigger and better. I don't really agree with that. I feel like, I'm not saying we should have 1 million events, but if there's enough demand for a tournament to happen and it's worth it for the TD, it's worth it for the players, it's worth it for the club or the organization, I'm completely fine with them hosting it. And you have to determine what your threshold of success is. Are you building something? Are you, established or not? You have to determine what that threshold of success is. But I feel like if there's 52 weekends in a year and there's 52 tournaments that you could drive to, who cares if that's the case? Because are you going to be happy when there's only 26? And you're going to say, well, I'm going to for sure go to those 26. Well, you could only go to 26 if there were 52 available as well. So I don't know. That's how I feel. I know there's very much a sentiment out there that thinks we should reduce tournament amounts and opportunities, but I just don't know what we have to gain by that. Because those other 26 weekends, somebody has their kids, or somebody travels every other weekend, or a grandparent dies every other weekend, whatever. You might not be able to make those when there's only 26 of them available. I played a lot of Guts conversation out there, which is great to hear. Maine has 1 PDGA event sellout. Okay. I went from 2 hours from the Mexican border to 2 hours from the Canadian border. I'm not sure. I'm missing some context here, so that's all right. More is better, tennis guy JJ says. So
yeah, more events the better.
And if events aren't being successful by their terms, they'll quit running them.
Yeah.
And something else will move in. Or if you're running a tournament and 12 people show up and 50 miles away 200 people show up, then that speaks volumes right there. Either you're not doing a good job at something, or maybe it's time to call it quits, or whatever it is. I love the game that Tom M has all 3 discs together and they split up when you throw them. I'm not sure if Tom McManus, our pal, PDJ 1276, is in and still listening and on the board, but I'd be curious to know what he calls that. Another Frisbee game some of you may have seen in the past is 3 separate Frisbees, 3 different sizes that just barely fit inside one another.
They all fit inside each other.
And then you essentially are just playing catch. You throw with all 3 of them stacked.
Lizotte style?
Yeah, you throw, exactly. And the receiver is trying to catch all 3 of them, because generally they'll split apart into, go their own separate ways slightly, and you're trying to catch all 3 of them. Some of the other conversation. Terry, did you interview Tony Martinez at the Halloween Classic presented by Legacy Disc? I briefly talked to him. I think he's got a secret that he couldn't share with me. However,
who is Tony Martinez?
I'm a smart guy, so I think I know what his secret is. I can't talk about that. He's a player that was there from Utah, if I recall. If I'm keeping all of the new faces together. I believe he's from Utah. Well, at least he said his current sponsor was Team Utah Disc Golf, or Team. Yeah. So I did have a quick conversation. He, spoiler alert, he had one of the greatest shots of the weekend that I captured on film. It might have been the single greatest shot, and you're just going to have to watch the video blogs to see what it is.
Tease.
There's the tease. So, yes. So I can't say I talked to him much more besides that. I'm not going to have a conversation about the global warming conversation.
Nope.
We had 2,000
not going to do it.
Raised, but you can't make people show up. That's very true. Steve Mills says, what do you think about the ratings-based registration and the larger tournaments that tend to fill up so fast?
I think it's a great idea.
I think it's great as well. I think
anything that's higher than an A tier should do it.
I'm totally fine with that. I think Joe Schmo, who's rated 950, might be a solid local level professional, let's just say. And the national tour, or any other given really big event, if they want to first make sure that they offer it to 1,010 rated players and above, and then eventually to 990 and above, and then 970 and above, and then finally, if there's still spots and Joe Schmo at 950 gets in, great. If he doesn't, he can go play a local tournament that's happening that weekend, and the best of the best will be at this other big tournament, along with a lot of the media. So I'm totally on board with it.
There was a question up here. What's your opinion on trophy-only events, good or bad? Good. I think if they're... I don't see a problem, assuming everyone knows it's a trophy-only event. The more different type of events, the better. If you want to do trophy-only, let everyone know it's trophy-only, and if you don't get a turnout in your general area, then you know that it's not going to work out. I think every area may be a little different. Or it could just be, it's people aren't used to that. So
it depends on who you ask, too.
Yeah.
Because more often than not, if you're a better player in, let's say, the advanced division, you're considered one of the better players, you have a good chance at winning or doing really well, you love to go to a tournament and possibly win $100 or $200 worth of merchandise, and you're super pumped about that, and you get to pick out whatever you want and all that other stuff. When you're not so good, you're like, heck yeah, trophy only, I'm all about it, because I paid $50 to play, but I got $50 or $100 in stuff, and I took dead last. Well, then you're more excited about trophy only. So I think it has a lot to do with perspective.
I think trophy only with good players packs is the way to go. And someone in here, right, players packs fill tournaments. I think you're right. I think if you give a great players pack, that word gets around very quickly. And the next year you will see an increase look at Bowling Green. They've always been known to have a phenomenal players pack. Look at Ledgestone this year, who gave away, I think it was close to 52 discs in each players pack. So
something like that.
I might be a little off there, but
it was somewhere between 12 and 80.
Yeah, somewhere between there. Disc Golf Nerd asks if the Smashbox discs are available. Yes, we covered a little earlier. Contact Terry on Facebook. He's been kind of busy the past 3 or 4 days, so if he hasn't got back to you, he will. I will make sure of it.
Tomorrow morning. Tomorrow morning's the big
that's your sit down day and pound that out.
It's going to be tomorrow for sure. So let's make it happen. Green Mountain Championships round 4. That's a great question, Luke. And I don't know the answer. I know that they were talking about a very, very minimal pay-per-view model. I think they were talking as little as $1 or $2. I believe it was last agreed to be $1, and they were going to release that that way. And you know what? I don't know the details, but I'll certainly post them as soon as I do know it. I know that the production has taken a little longer than they had hoped for. However, I think from judging by the viewership, people love it. I'd love to hear your opinions of it. Obviously, if you watched, especially if you watched both of the videos I put up or they had put up, you'll see that I was there for the first video, but not the second one in terms of in the recording studio or whatever. But I think I'm sure Jeff Spring did a phenomenal job with it, and I'm really excited about it. So I'm gonna say it's gonna be any day now, and I think they're gonna ask or demand. Or charge, however you look at it, $1. It will be on Vimeo, and it'll be $1 to watch that final round.
Go out there, spread the word, pay the $1. It's only $1.
It's $1,
and let it be known that we are as disc golfers willing to pay for something of quality.
Yes, especially when it's $1.
Here's a question: Rico loves Uli. Will Uli be on Legacy eventually? Here's a good thing. Rico loves Macbeth. Macbeth will never be on Legacy.
Probably not. You can't say never.
I can't say never. True. I mean, who knows in 20 years? But right now, I know Paul is very happy with Innova. Paul Macbeth. Paul Uli, I don't know. Rico loves a lot of people. Rico's a really nice guy.
Rico loves me.
Rico does love you. And
in all the right ways.
I think, and I know nothing about nothing usually, but I'll say this. In the next 6 weeks, I think we're going to start hearing rumblings of people moving around.
Yes.
I have no clue if it's Uli or, like I said, I know nothing of nothing. Terry probably knows more than I do because he tends to be a little bit more ear to the ground. But I like the beginning and end of the year because you always start hearing that rumbling and people always start wondering, and there are people shifting between this and that, and then there's all these rumors about, well, what did he get and what didn't he get, or she. So yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't rule it out, but I don't think there's any, as far as I know, there's no plans. So anyway. And someone says, I doubt Prodigy would drop Uli. I don't know.
Yeah, and we're not insinuating.
No, not at all.
Either.
I mean, usually, I'll say this. Usually, a disc manufacturer doesn't drop a player. Usually, it's a change in contract that the player then is not happy with if a player leaves, or they get a better offer from somebody else. So, yeah.
I'm trying to read through some of the notes and the details. 860 signed up at the GBO.
In the first 24 hours.
Why not? Beats asked, why not just put it out there and not charge? I would say, especially because I was there for a few days, there was an exorbitant amount of effort that was put into, and not saying I don't work hard, but I know how much work that we all put into that video or video coverage and everything that goes along with it. And just, it's not practical for their business model to put it out for free, I guess is the quick and easy way to answer it. It's just not practical. We've been really spoiled in our disc golf community that not so bright people like myself sometimes have put a lot of energy and efforts into things that haven't been financially sustainable. So the one thing that they're trying is that giving you the first 3 rounds completely for free, long edited, excellent, well put together videos, putting them out there for free for the first 3 rounds, and then charging the single dollar for the 4th round. So that was part of their logic. I know there's a little bit of a test case scenario there,
Sure.
and I'm interested to see how it does as well. It could help shape or mold how other people do things. So,
Yeah.
But as much as we love it, free is great for some, but it's not practical for everyone. And I guess that's the way I could word that. So if more people want to give me money, I can give you more free content.
What company, and I'm just going to say general company, not necessarily disc company, if you could be sponsored by, I know we've asked this to some of the pros, but how about you, Terry? If you could be sponsored by any company, which one would you pick? And I'm going to say this, like, not even limiting it to a specific reason, whether it's for your play or for your media or for, which I was thinking for us, I think Verizon would be kind of cool to be a sponsor, like have Verizon sponsor us.
In terms of our Smashbox work.
Yeah, because we do so much with data that it would be kind of cool to have Verizon sponsor and help pay for some of our bandwidth costs and things like that.
Yeah.
I think that would be kind of nice. Or someone like JVC or Canon.
Sure.
So.
If you wanted to go super generic and just say, well, what would just be a cool company to be just... couldn't someone say anything from like a car company to
Tesla?
Tesla, that's where I was going with that. Like, would it be cool to say you're sponsored by Google? I don't know. If you know the money and the power that's behind Google.
Or Apple or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. Or one of those companies. So that's a great question, though. If you could be sponsored by any company out there. Yeah, I don't know. I'd have to think of the companies that I like and or currently support, and I would think those would be ones that I would want to associate with. I'm not going to go to...
Steve Mills says you can't tour in a Tesla. You can. You just have to be very picky about where you go. You have to make sure you're near one of those rechargers on the highway because it takes like 45 minutes to recharge your car, but you stop less frequently, I guess, so...
I'm going to continue to try and read up on some of the information here. No Smashbox Wizards. That may or may not happen sometime down the future. Tomorrow is your birthday. 24 makes me feel old. Whiplash Joker 21. Happy birthday to you, buddy. Depending on where you are, it could be any minute now, but happy birthday.
Do you guys think that Trilogy brands should just stick with one name for each plastic blend? Disc Golf Nerd, I don't know, and I don't know enough about...
I'd love you for a clarification on that.
Yeah.
What are those numbers always coming through?
I don't know why Beats is putting those numbers up.
Beats, why are you putting up those numbers?
Yeah, someone in the chat is putting up just random, well, it would appear to be random numbers on through our chat. And it's irregular, so... That's okay, Beats. I was just curious as why you were doing it. I didn't know if there was a purpose.
Yeah, we just don't know exactly.
Oh, he's probably like bouncing back and forth between doing work and watching, and so every once in a while he accidentally types into the chat. Do you ever think a hiking company will make a disc golf specific shoe? Possibly. I don't. It's not out of the realm. I don't see there being a huge. Disc golf shoe hasn't been a huge success. As far as
it's because we're so demanding and we're so whiny
rough, and we're rough on them. Yeah, Keen makes a disc golf specific shoe, but I think they're down to one model of that. Is that right?
They've gone through changes throughout the years, and they constantly are trying to adjust, and everyone's constantly saying, "Well, it's not holding up on me." And I think just disc golfers have been very demanding of what they want out of a shoe. Because we're really rough on our shoes, especially obviously with the concrete and cement tee pads and so on and so forth.
It could be that Beats is in a bunker on an island.
And he's sending coordinates.
And no, he just needs to keep typing in these numbers to make sure the system resets so that the world keeps on working.
Oh, okay.
So
Luke
it's a lost reference.
Luke had said, for the Green Mountain Championships, I think it would do better to charge the $1 for the whole tourney, because the suspense is lost based on the scores. Or maybe just give the first round free. Yeah, I guess there's a lot of different mentalities and ways to look at it. I remember in the pre-planning stages, they had talked about how they kind of wanted to set it up. And I had said, what if someone is dominating the event? What if someone's really pulled out to a big lead or whatever? Will that lose some of the suspense? And then we just kept talking about $1, like the $1,
Yeah.
Contribution. And hopefully they proved in the first hour and a half of coverage that has been provided, and the insight and sultry voice of myself in one of the videos, hopefully people would think I'll pay $1 to watch the final video. So that was where some of the conversation has.
Disc Golf Nerd clarifies, saying they have the Opto, the Lucid, and the VIP, but they're the same plastic, and it's the same for all blends, but they each have their own name. I mean, as far as I know, they want to be considered 3 separate companies, so it kind of makes sense. I don't know enough about their business, the business plan, to really make a truly educated opinion on it. Not that stopped me on a lot of things in the past, but I don't know. It's I'm just going to go with the fact that they're 3 separate companies, so they're going to do 3 separate names as opposed to one. But
yeah, and I completely agree. I mean, they all have their own identity. And I was really informed that the whole concept of trilogy was a fan base thing.
Correct. It's not.
That was not,
not
their intention,
own.
So to speak. That's just how everyone else sort of referred to them, and they've run with it or allowed it or whatever you want to say or embrace it now. But it was not by design when they were working on what they were. So
Tennis Guy JJ says a Smashbox monthly subscription. You can send us monthly amounts.
Yep.
You're not really going to get much for it.
That you're not already getting.
Disc Golf Planet did charge $5 once to watch Worlds. I've gone back and forth thinking that it would be kind of cool to charge for an event, but I always overrule myself even before I bring it up to Terry. Just because I don't think we're there. I don't want. It would have to be a special event for me to charge. I don't want to charge for our standard tournaments. That's kind of where I stand. If we do GBO or USDGC and it's up to us. Now, I'm not saying that if we covered the Memorial and suddenly, the Memorial says, yeah, you guys can do it, but we want to charge. That's on them. But if it's ever up to us, I don't want to charge. Not for a tournament. Now, if we did something like a specific event, exhibition match, let's say, hey, we're going to take, on a Thursday night, we're going to get some of these top pros together and we're going to have an exhibition and we're going to make you pay $2 or whatever it would be, $5, $20, and a portion of it goes back to the players. I could see doing something like that. I've bounced that around in my head before as well.
Yeah.
So I guess we'll just have to see. I mean, I don't foresee us paying, and I'll say this. You're never, ever, ever...
Never ever
gonna see a subscription service from us. I don't want any sort of membership or subscription or anything like that. It's not worth it, because inevitably what happens is, not that we're going out of business, but what happens when you pay for it and we don't provide what you think we should, whether or not we're clear with our expectations. It's nothing that we should be setting a standard for. So sorry, guys.
All right, let's see if we can continue reading through some of the information or some of the questions you guys have asked. I thought somebody else said it was their birthday. Was that Disc Golf Nerd? Was that your birthday today? If so, happy birthday.
Yeah, Disc Golf says, I would pay for great quality broadcasts. I'd pay for that too. But I'm not going to.
If you find anyone that can do it, let us know.
Yeah, when you find someone that can do it, you contact us.
No, we appreciate it. 724 Disc Golf 724. A lot of people say that. The unfortunate thing is you're still a very tiny minority.
Correct. Most people don't want to pay.
Yeah, and whether because we've spoiled you in the past or just because that's the way we are in society, whatever. There are people that are more than willing to pay, but it's just such a tiny percentage of the people. Now, if we had thousands and tens of thousands that were committing to pay us, we'd have a different story, and we could make a lot of improvements. But that's just not where we're at right now.
Do you think it'd be a good idea to have Macbeth go on a mainstream podcast? What are you saying? Like Joe Rogan or something along the two, for exposure to the sport? Yeah, I think if any chance Paul gets to any chance Paul gets to expose himself, he should. No, any chance Paul gets to expose the sport or further his brand, more power to him. I think he should do it. I don't see any downside of it, especially with Paul, because he's well spoken, he's smart, he knows what he's doing. It's not like they're going to go on there and make a fool of him or anything crazy like that.
I believe Mike Harrington had just posted, I think if you scroll up, about Clash type series. I think you're going to see more of those, Mike, as we continue to move forward and reach out to our fans, reach out to doing some more of those exhibition type matches. Obviously, we felt like the battles, we've only done a couple of them, but we feel like that there's a formula there for us, and we'd love to continue it. It's just a matter of who's going to sponsor them, how can we make them happen more often, but there certainly should be more of those. Happy
birthday to DG Beat, 39 today.
DG Beat, that's who it is.
Yep.
Okay, happy birthday.
One more year till Masters. Yeah, you can play Masters next January.
Back to back.
Oh, wait, no, technically he can play in this January, right? If he's 39 today, then he turns 40 next year.
Then he could technically start playing as of January 1st.
So as of January 1st, DG Beat, you can play Masters.
A conversation was asked, or a question was asked about back-to-back NTs being in Emporia and then the next week in Kansas City. In terms of scheduling, those events are 90 miles or 100 miles apart. I think that's great that you'll find darn near every one of our top players at both of those two events next year.
Yep.
The fact that they're both NTs kind of surprises me because I feel like they've worked really hard to spread out the NT schedule and not have them on top of one another. But I think they also feel like everyone's going to be at one or the other, and now you're going to for sure be at both. I mean, if there was going to be a week that you or 10 days you wanted to take off and you were going to go play some serious disc golf with where you cared about people who are going to be there in terms of the top players, that would be a good way to get them both in.
Yeah.
It surprised me. It really did, but I don't know if there's going to be any downside to it. It just was kind of surprising.
What do you guys think about, Steve Mills asks, what do you guys think about crowdfunding for added cash at tournaments? Has anyone tried to do that yet?
I'd have to...
I don't see much of a difference between that and...
asking for T-sign sponsorships?
T-sign sponsorship or discs, selling discs as sponsorship.
Sure.
I mean, maybe you could ask for a smaller amount for crowdsourcing. Like you could say, you can give as little as $1, as opposed to selling a fundraiser disc where it's like, I want $20 for this disc. I don't know if anyone's particularly done it as far as crowdsourcing. It'd be an interesting experiment.
I guess you have nothing to lose, but I also feel like I don't know why anyone would do it.
Yeah, I mean, unless you could say, hey, for $1, if you're in before a certain date, we'll put you in the
credits or something.
In the credits or the player guide.
Yeah. Anyone could send any amount, and I understand where you're going with it, but I'm saying, why would Johnny here want to
give $2 or $4
to the Kansas City Wide Open? I'll just make up a tournament here. Why would he want to give $4 to the Kansas City Wide Open?
Yeah, what do I get out of it? Is what most people are going to say. Like, that's great. And then a lot of people are going to say, I kind of donate to you every time I play.
Yeah.
So
Beats asks, how much does the USDGC make on rocks every year? They make a ton of money, and they also spend arguably more money to run that tournament than any other tournament at any other time during the year. So I'm not... If USDGC rocks... I'm just going to make up some numbers because that's what I do. Let's say... And I've been one of the biggest rock supporters since their existence. Let's say they release 2,000 rocks at $25 a piece. That's $50,000, we'll just say, gross. Obviously, it costs something to make them, and all that other stuff. But let's just say that generates $50,000. That, I would say, it's a heavy drop in the bucket when it comes to the expense side of the USDGC. So it's a great marketing strategy. It's something that they've done. It's made them a lot of money. And it's also because it's one of the more iconic discs that's ever been out there. You've seen other companies try to make discs as elite and as special, and it more often than not hasn't panned out for them in quite the same way. So It has generated a ton of money, I guess, if that was ultimately the question there. Let's see if I can go back. If Johnny can go up a little bit further, see if we can... some good questions coming in. Go scan up, though, please. All right. Give us your questions, people. Bring them in on the board. We're going to try and continue to go through them.
I don't think we've really missed many questions.
Okay. Well, keep bringing them.
There was the why can't events do something like the USDGC rocks? And a lot of them can, just not with the USDG style rock.
Yeah, that's part of the issue. Is that's such a collected and coveted disc that again we've seen a lot of events sell special discs, of course, but not necessarily to the scale and to the demand that the USDGC has. They have a great thing going, and I'm sure they hope that demand never goes down because it certainly can generate good money.
Luke says maybe you donate $5 and you get access to the coverage first on YouTube. That's been discussed, saying like, hey, if you donate X amount, even as little as I was thinking, hey, you could donate as little as $1 or a quarter. I mean, because even a quarter is better than zero, and you can watch it exclusively live, and then everybody else gets it immediately after it's live or within a day. It's a lot of hassle. That's part of it. And I don't know if particularly YouTube lets you lock down the live. I know they let you lock it down after the fact, but I don't know if they let you lock it down live. It's something I need to dig into. But again, it's kind of one of those things like tournaments I'd rather not charge for if I don't have to.
Steve talks about the Ledgestone got a ton of money this year from fundraiser discs. Absolutely. Discraft dug deep and came out with not hundreds of molds, but came out with a dozen or more variations to molds and special plastic types in order for them to do a lot of fundraising. I never got around to selling all the ones that I was privy to, so if anybody needs some, reach out to me. I still have quite a few of the Ledgestone discs simply because I never got around to selling them. So, but they can do that. Again, you have to be putting out a product that everybody, you want to make sure that there's a demand for. And I think that's, naturally, that's what every disc golf company is already trying to do.
Tennis guy JJ says, do you think drones will ever be used as part of a live feed option? I'm not going to say never because the drone, the quality and the sound of them is getting better and better, but they're a relatively loud and noisy thing. So we've used them in the past for like whole previews, but I can't imagine them being used for live anytime soon just because of the distraction, where do you put them?
Right now they're loud.
Yeah.
A lot of them have very short battery life.
Yep.
And they're
user intensive. You need someone to sit and run that, and then that person is busy for 15 minutes when he switches out a battery, and then he's busy. It doesn't seem worth it to me. Because honestly, do you really want there's so few holes that I think would look good.
Killer. That's true too.
From that perspective, from an upper, it's kind of cool to see someone throw from above. But do you really want that live? We get enough complaints about us missing shots and losing discs in the sun and this and that right now that a drone just doesn't seem like it's realistic. Now, think about this, though. In 5 years, when the drones are twice as quiet, Wi-Fi is twice as prevalent, and 4G is twice as prevalent, and the chips that we need to put in our stuff, I'm not going to say never.
Yeah, I wouldn't say never, but I think we're definitely a few years off of drones being incorporated into our live broadcast. And I'll go as extreme as saying, what happens? It's the final hold at the World Championships. Somebody took 2.5 minutes to find a disc. Somebody else got stung by a bee. Next thing you know, that drone is on its last 90 seconds of power, and somebody's putting for the win, and the drone comes crashing down or whatever. It makes a noise. I can't imagine. We're already doing everything we can to be as less intrusive as possible and disruptive to the play and our players. We're doing everything we can do within reason, and I just keep thinking something falling from the sky. Or what happens, heaven forbid, a disc hits it. I just think there's way too many things right now.
You're in a position that you think you're perfectly safe, and then
somehow
Simon decides he's going to throw a big spike hyzer around a tree, not seeing your drone hovering behind the tree, and hits your drone. Not worth it. Just in general, it seems to be
we're a ways away from it. That's what I'm really saying is, and I just can't imagine being responsible for interfering with play in that sense up in the sky.
My favorite question of the night is, what's the craziest recording setup you have seen from others for disc golf? I think we can be in agreement. The Mad City Open this year, Viridisc did live broadcasting with a homemade setup that
it was very impressive.
It was super impressive. Like, this guy looked like he was carrying a refrigerator on his back.
He did.
It was a big metal frame with a computer inside of it and a fold-out screen so he could switch the show live from where he was and broadcast the signal. I know they had some issues with signal quality and strength, but that's the craziest setup I've ever seen. I remember walking up and just, like, the guy's name is Qua, and going like, wow. Like, you built this. That is ridiculous. And, I mean, it was cheaper than what we do as far as the equipment that they put into that is cheaper than the little equipment that we buy because we buy it off the shelf. And it kind of did the job. I think with a little couple tweaks and some adjusting, they could get something to work a little bit better. But that was the craziest thing I'd ever seen.
Yeah, I mean, we know how the technology and everything that has been used with Disc Golf Planet. We know the technology that was used along with the Emporia group, obviously ours, and then theirs. Are those all four that have done live ever? That besides what was done in Europe, which we weren't privy to or familiar with.
As far as live?
Yeah, live setups. We've seen them all. And then the original live setup.
With the Maple Hill from the laptops and the...
And that setup I've seen. And then we've also seen how Disc Golf Planet, the first two configurations that they used as well.
Terry Roddy we had some wired cameras, and then we had some line of sight cameras that he had the equipment. I'm fairly certain he had the equipment because he worked with CBS and the golf stuff. So I don't know for sure if he owned that or if he just borrowed it or rented it. I'm not exactly sure. But they broadcast back to a tent where then the switching was done and sent up that way. Then they did. We turned them on to the wireless, the 4G stuff.
Well, they had there were two different satellite.
And the satellite. Yep, there's the satellite, the actual satellite that they had. Yeah, I think we've seen pretty much, between you and I, we've seen every way to broadcast disc golf.
That's been offered
done
thus far, yeah. Didn't they broadcast from a massive crane or something at KC? I think they had some kind of tower set up one year where there was a bucket truck or, they had some kind of access to something like that one year. That is correct. A question came in, who's your favorite disc golfers of all time and why? I'll take the easy way out, Ed Hedrick. He started it. Thanks, Ed.
I don't know if I have a favorite disc golfer of all time. I don't know.
Ed Hedrick. Are you two going to miss the Silver Cup this year now that it's part of the Pro Tour? Are they doing the tiered registration? I'm sure there's going to be some form of tiered registration.
I didn't even think about that. We couldn't get in the tiered registration. We've been playing for 15 straight years, and we might not be able to get in because of tiered registration. Thanks, Jason, jerk. No, but I think we are going to miss it.
Yeah, so we're hopefully going to be covering the event live. So I think Kyle wanted a shout-out for winning in Portland, the Collegiate Portland, something or other this weekend. Sorry that it went off my screen, but congrats to Kyle for this weekend's sweet action. As the sport gets bigger, what are your thoughts on a players' union or something like other sports? That's been discussed a number of times.
Yeah,
we both probably agree that eventually it'll need to happen, just a matter of when and what if a specific thing may force that issue. But
yeah, because
I don't think it's killing us right now or holding us back.
No, not at all. And there's
not right now.
I mean, you see things like one of the big things in sports right now. I won't say big thing. The daily fantasy stuff, the FanDuel.
Yeah.
One of the players is actually suing FanDuel for using his name. Mm-hmm. And that's something that, probably depending if it goes well, the players' union will probably be behind. And imagine a disc golf video game. I just think gets really big. Who has the right to use what names and get licensing and things like that? That's where a union could be useful. And I'm sure it can be useful in other ways as far as setting tour standards for players. But right now, I don't think we need it. at this particular moment. That may change in 5 years. I said the same thing 5 years ago too, that it wasn't needed and that we might need it in 5 years, and we haven't. So.
Good night. Good night, Nate. Thanks for joining us tonight and for always tuning in. We appreciate it. Mike asks, what's your favorite temporary course that you have ever played? I'm going to have to say Lake Eureka at the Ledgestone was my favorite ever temp course. I'm just kidding. I just want to see if people get all worked up about it. Because I know they would. Gosh, favorite temp
I'm trying to think of places.
Course. I played Houston Worlds, kind of had a temp course.
Yeah.
Michigan, the toboggan. I think a lot of people would argue that the toboggan,
one of the best.
It's like a semi-temp course. I mean, because it's in for a few weeks out of the year every year now.
Yeah,
but when we played it,
it was truly temp.
It was
the first.
Genuinely
I think it was the first
course.
time it was put in. One of the first times.
Yeah. So I think 99 GLO, Great Lakes Open, might have been the first time it was ever played, and then they brought it back for the 2000 Worlds, is what I believe was the case. I don't hardly remember so many of my courses and tournaments are starting to blend. I don't even remember the Iowa Worlds temp course, DMACC. I mean, I vaguely remember being out there now, but I don't remember any specifics on that course. Other temp courses that really stick out.
I'm trying to think. Trying to think of different worlds or like. I mean, we've played events where they have like 9 temp holes on a 18-hole course. Mm-hmm. Mad City had a really nice temp course at Elver on the backside. Before that was, I enjoyed that one quite a bit. Where you play around the lake and then you went back kind of into the woods. That's where Dane fell off my car that year. Or I threw him off my car.
1 and 2. I mean, one could argue that some of the Milo MacIver stuff is technically kind of sort of temp because it's not always in that, 18-hole config or 36 holes out there. So one could argue that that's probably one of the coolest places. But again, that's like a semi-permanent thing that they have 2 separate 18s out there that get used.
Yeah.
If you could bet on a rule change to happen within the next decade, what would it be? Growing the 10-meter circle, shrinking the basket, change up the self-officiating rule?
I don't think the self-officiating rule will change anytime soon, just because we're not big enough to have officials.
Okay.
I could see, just because there's been so much talk of it, I could see the basket shrink. But I don't know if I'd bet on that. Just like I know a lot of people say the standstill throw from fairways.
Yeah,
like that,
basically like eliminating the options of like follow-throughs or falling butts.
Correct.
Yeah, I think something related to, I'll call them jump putting. I think something related to jump putting is going to give in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
Because it's so quickly and easily debatable, and when you look at it on film, there's still such a gray area, and I think there may be some kind of way to address that. That I would bet on that in the next 5 years. That'd probably be the number one thing I would bet on. I don't think the 10-meter circle is going to necessarily go away.
Well, if you eliminate jump putting, that eliminates the 10-meter circle.
Well, exactly. I guess.
I don't know of another reason.
And that's why I'm saying, like, I don't know if jump putting specifically will go away, but something relating to, you're saying, because if you're following through in the fairway, then you shouldn't have any jump putting at 42 feet either.
If you're finishing, if your momentum brings you in front of the mini, I'm not saying it should be that way, but I could see a rule saying if your momentum brings you in front of the mini, it's a fault. So,
Steve, you say you hope they get rid of the 10-meter circle. What do you mean by getting rid of it, I guess would be my question. And Nate Simpson, I thought you were leaving, Nate, said grow the circle 100 feet. That I don't think is practical because think about where all these baskets are.
And think of how hard it is to judge 100 feet.
Well, that's what I mean. You'd have to start marking them.
Yeah.
And just think, if you had to go 100 feet in every direction of any given basket at some of the courses, that would be impossible.
Yeah.
It would be nearly impossible to do. You shouldn't be able to jump putt into the circle. That's like one very specific very, very specific variation of what we're saying, I guess. Like
Steve says, I think you should be able to follow through or jump putt from anywhere. I can see that. I can see, even if you're 15 feet away, jump putting. I don't think you need it.
I used to back in '94 when I played.
Yeah, but I'll say this: I think, and part of it is perception. I think it looks stupid. Like, there's a reason you jump putt from 50 feet away, or some people 30 to 40. Jump putting from 5 to 10 feet, which some people will do just to jump and throw it closer because you're less likely to miss a 10-footer when you're now and what do you run up to your mini and leap? And as long as you let go of it, I mean, I think that would be ridiculous looking, and I think that may actually hold our sport back. So I could see that not happening. But
I like to backtrack slightly. Ed Wood Sr. says, "What about video evidence?" That's another one that I could see changing too. Right now, video evidence is not permissible, I think is the word, or admissible in court. Yeah. But no, video evidence is not to be used in terms of determining ruling calls, and I could see that change in the next 5 years. I'm not going to say next year, but if some variation of that changed, I wouldn't be surprised, because quite frankly, there's a number of things I've seen groups get things wrong.
Yeah.
And I guess it depends on how subjective is the call. Is it clear as day as to what happened, or is this whatever, but video evidence, I wouldn't be opposed to it. It would be a nightmare to oversee.
I can't even imagine how painful that would be, because at one point then, are you starting to pull people off like, oh, did anyone get that on their phone? Or you happen to be filming and someone's like, hey, I saw you film, you guys are part of the crew. Did you get that? And you could be like, no, maybe.
And maybe there's accredited video people that are the only ones that are eligible. Maybe
maybe
only the approved media crew that is approved for the event is one that I don't know. I'm just
personally, I don't think video evidence should ever be admissible.
Wow, does that include the NFL?
No, that's
okay.
No, because they do instant replay. We don't really have instant replay. We have almost no use for instant replay. So I can, and you and I have both said it. You want to take a picture of a disc that you think might be out of bounds or slightly out of bounds. A fraction of an angle makes that a completely different view than something else.
What about just landing in a general spot? And we're not talking about I landed over in that bush.
I think
I landed on the ground over there. Is that area OB or not?
I think that's a little different. That's not necessarily video. That's just a picture. Like, oh, I was over in this area. I know it's video, but it's one still image. I landed over in this area. Is that in bounds? That can usually be a simple yes or no question. And that's not really video. But you want to get into video evidence like, oh, like we'll take the big debate lately, with Stokely's foot or Climo's footing. Mm-hmm. Like, someone calls a foot fault, like, oh, rewind that, let me see it. Well, great. What if I can't see it on my little LCD? Now what? Do we need to wait? Do we take a provisional? I just don't think we should probably ever have any sort of instant replay or video, because you're never going to get it right 100% of the time.
I know. I guess what I would say is like instant replay, I could see video evidence being allowed in certain circumstances. Because not every play is reviewable via instant replay.
Correct.
That's a non-reviewable call.
Yep.
I feel like
subjective ones.
Exactly. I feel the same in disc golf. That if we had some rules or some specific situations where video evidence can be used, I wouldn't be surprised if that happened. They may not want to get into it. And I know Mike says it wouldn't be fair because you don't follow all the groups. That's absolutely true, but you could also say the same of an official. Someone that is out there following the leader card that's an official, and there may not be an official on other cards. Mm-hmm. I think that's the exact same thing.
I do think there should be an official on the lead card. And at least I'd like to see the top two cards. But almost for certain, at least the lead card of every NT, there should be an official there.
And on the women's?
Probably, yeah. If you're going to be fair. Steve Mills, top pros won't do it, and then we won't have you argue if you were outside or not.
Referring to jump putting.
Correct. But you say that now, and maybe the top pros now won't do it. But when you have a whole generation of kids that now can, like I said, from 10 feet out, leap and get 5 feet closer so they can just drop in a 5-foot putt before they hit the ground, it's a whole different style of play.
Which is exactly how I played my first couple of years.
I know. And so once you find out that that's legal and you have a whole style of kids that are doing that, you're gonna run into something else. I have no problem eliminating it, but if you eliminate the 10-meter circle, then you just flat out say there's no going in front of your mini. Your momentum cannot take you in front of your mini.
And I don't want to totally rehash this, but Disc Golf 724 says something regarding rules like about an act of God. I'm going to go, and then he references Sarah Holcomb's accident. I'm a little less worked up all these months later, and we still all know I love Sarah and everything. I don't feel that rule needs to change.
It was the right.
Because it's still always going to be subjective.
Yep.
As to should 71 other women be held up because Sarah got in a car accident? And we've said this before.
Her fault or not.
Exactly. What happens when the car accident was her fault?
Yeah.
She was
texting while driving.
She was texting. She was putting on her makeup. Yeah. Or she was doing a million other things. She was reaching over to grab her caddy guide.
She was checking me out as she drove by.
She was checking out Johnny V. Never said no one ever. But the point being, she woke up late. She was in a rush.
Yeah.
And she was rushing to the course, and she blows a stop sign. She gets in an accident, and it takes 45 minutes just to get her relieved from the scene. Obviously, I'm not suggesting any of that happened, but there's no way we can account for all of that. And some had said it before. Would they have tried to hold it up if she was in 12th place at the time? You know, that was some of the argument that some of the other women made is they wouldn't have held it up for me.
Nope.
And at that point, was anyone getting played favorites to? What if that wasn't the person in third in Advanced Grandmaster Women? Would she have gotten that same benefit of the doubt? Those were all some of the arguments that were made. And as I don't want to sound heartless, clearly, but I feel that the rule is perfectly fair as it is. It was very unfortunate luck for Sarah. She took it like a champ, and there was just only so much you can do.
Like a champ.
There's just only so much you can do, and I can't say it enough.
Yeah,
I agree with the rule as it is. You can't start making exceptions because somebody's going to exploit them. Someone's going to try and cheat them.
There's going to be somebody out there that tries to flex them and bend them as much as possible, and it's just not worth it.
A missed hole should be the worst score taken by everyone in your division plus 2 strokes.
No.
A missed hole should be the worst score. No,
because what happens when your first hole
is the island hole at USDGC,
and someone takes a 17 or a 9? Do you get an 11 then? No, it's par plus 4 or par plus 3 or par plus 2.
4.
I know it's par plus 4. I'm just saying you could make an argument for any of those other ones. You want to argue about what it should be, that's fine, but you can't base that on what other people shot. Look at what Billings did.
Yeah, Billings just took
a 15 or whatever he took, and suddenly because you missed that hole, you now take a 17.
Yeah, I don't. I feel like just par. I think it's punitive enough. Par plus 4.
Yes,
I don't. I think that's perfectly fine. And I know in golf, I think they do DQ you.
Yeah,
but
they just DQ you.
Again, we don't do everything they do, so I'm fine with that. I also think if you're a professional golfer, somebody maybe has driven you to the course. You probably stayed at a nice hotel the night before. You're probably not running around, trying to find 100 things and do a million things like our disc golf community has to. So par plus 4, I'm totally fine with it. You get rewarded by missing it. Then I don't know what you feel. Josh, I think you're just gonna have to clarify, because if I get to I start on hole 10. It's a par 4. And I miss the hole, or I get there 5 minutes late. They're throwing their approach shots. And everyone scores anywhere from a 3 to a 10 on the hole. And then I walk up and I miss the hole, but I get carded an 8. I mean,
yeah, I think it's penalizing enough.
I don't know. I don't think you're rewarded. I mean, you're still penalized. I guess you just want to be penalized more. If you're a pro, you shouldn't miss a hole. Sorry, I agree.
If you miss hole 17 at USDGC, you should gain. I think it means you shouldn't gain any strokes on anyone. I disagree. I don't think a majority of the field you're not gaining strokes on. I mean,
a majority. You're right. No, I mean, I get your argument, but USDGC holes like 17 are so few and far between.
Correct.
As well. I understand that helps your argument. I agree with it, but I think that's just it's such a small a small percentage of where that could possibly happen. Sure, people can legitimately take a 9 or a 10 on USDGC hole 17, but that's very few people anyway.
Yeah, or he's saying like the 888 hole. If you just flat out didn't play it, if you for some reason, even though you can't because you can get DQ'd.
Yeah.
If you just said I'm not playing this hole, I'm going to take par plus 4. You're circumventing the rules.
Yeah, and you're taking a 9.
You're taking a 9.
Which still, yes, you may gain 1 or 2 strokes on a few of the people.
Correct. And you're only going to lose 2 to Paul Macbeth every time.
Exactly.
But no, you won't gain anything by skipping a hole because a majority of the field is going to come in under par.
One of the questions is one of the most unorthodox people or forms we've ever played with.
The preacher out of Minnesota, what they called him, I forget his real name. I think he had some sort of OCD issue, and he used to do a huge routine.
Before that's who I think I was thinking of too.
Before every drive, he would go up with his disc and tap the corner of each of the tee box, and then he'd like kind of do this weird backwards walk and rock, and it was very strange, and it was really frustrating to play with. But then you just kind of have to take a step back and think, ugh, this poor guy. Like there's something wrong with him. Like he just can't help himself.
That was very unique. I think one of the most unique ones out there. I don't know if the question was frustrating or whatever it was, but one of the most unique ones out there today that most people know and recognize would be Jeff Bennett's
lawnmower start.
Yeah, his wind-ups, so to speak. I just think they're just very unique, and they work for him. He's a much better golfer than I've ever been, and I'm not second-guessing him, but they're definitely unique when you see them go down. Mike Holman, have a great night. We appreciate you joining us, pal. Thanks for tuning in. Sure, but your point remains. Yes, Josh, I relinquished the 1 point to you and the other 99 to me on our arguments. You do have a point. I'm not discrediting you don't have a point. But that's... Are you going to make an argument if it's a lefty versus a righty favored hole and one guy's right-handed and another guy's left-handed and, somehow subjectively get to incorporate that into it? Well, there's OB on the left-hand side of this whole entire hole, and the guy's left-handed, so he'd have to carry the water an extra 300 feet than the other guy. I mean, where are you going to draw the line? Tapping out, Nate says.
The little guy you're referring to?
What's his name, little guy?
The guy from down south. Junebug?
Oh, yeah. Brad Hammock.
Yeah, Brad
had
Hammock.
A very unique run-up.
Yep.
I think unique's the best word for it. I wouldn't say it was...
Because he would walk to the end of the tee pad, turn around so he wasn't even looking, and then kind of run up and spin.
Like a staggered run-up.
And you could also say the thing about Russell and his putt.
Yeah, Ron Russell has a very unique style.
Who never looked at it, and then at the very last second turned his head and fired, and won a world championship. When I first saw Cam Todd putt, I thought it was odd the way his little pop putt that he would do. Mm-hmm. The first time I'd never seen that, and he was deadly with it.
Yeah, it still is. So, definitely part of unique run up. I would challenge anyone out there to if you know of a unique form or run up or I'll say a mildly odd thing, with your best camera and work, record it and submit it to me. There's been something I'd like to work on. So by all means, if you, maybe it's your friend, maybe it's you, whatever, record it in the best possible quality you can, because there's something I'm actually working on along those lines. Some may say our pal Madison Walker, along with Nate Sexton, who both do their little flip before.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that's something that's unique and it's clearly part of their routine.
We had a good friend, Jeremy Coonan, who did that for many years. And
yep. So There's definitely some ways, some unique things there.
Yeah.
Charles Barkley has a nasty run up.
I imagine he would if it's anything like his golf game.
Yes. Yeah, and Ron Russell's putting was certainly unique, yet so incredibly effective.
And Barry's straddle putt, you know.
There's not a lot of people that putt like him.
No, I mean, a lot of people can straddle putt, but the way he does it, the way how low he gets and how he throws it up in the air, and it's pretty amazing, too. I think that's kind of unique.
One thing that was pointed out earlier in the year, because you and I have known Barry forever, but one thing that was pointed out is his straddles aren't quite the same and not as often. He's getting older, and his knees, that's a little more work on his knees to do what he does. So he's, exactly, as Beat says, he's slightly changed it up in recent times, but still very, very unique stance.
Sure.
So that's pretty crazy and interesting out there. We've talked about Sexton's unique setup as well. I'm checking out to see if there's anything else out here on our other social webs and medias. And
I checked all the web boards and I didn't see anything.
What about on the Reddits?
I checked the Reddits. That's part of the web boards.
Oh, okay. They do that. Okay.
They do that, yes. And I didn't see anything spectacular out there, so.
I think I did see, I know we talked about him earlier. Someone had mentioned something about Stokely, and I came across his YouTube page, and I ended up watching.
Really?
I watched one of his videos. You know how trendy and for a while, they still probably are, the videos where you don't really say anything, you just have things written on paper, and you.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he has one of those out there, and I gave it the 4 minutes. It made me chuckle, mildly chuckle. Just yet again proving he's a unique individual all to his own. And I thought that was out there. I know that's out there, so that was pretty funny.
Ed Wood, I have not heard anything about Barsby's elbow, about the condition of it. I think it's something we're going to kind of have to monitor over the winter. Hopefully he just he takes a break from drumming and just kind of chills out with golf and lets himself heal up. So I did hear that Nate Sexton's hernia surgery went very well.
Yes,
so
that's what he had said.
So that's good. Brinster has unique putting. McCoy's multi-pump.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. I don't know if I'd want it called that if I were him, but
the multi-pump.
Beats 1982. Is Reddit any good? Define good. Define any.
I'll say this. It's kind of I don't go out there often, but I understand the point. Part of the point of it is its simplicity, but at the same time, it's not easy on the eyes.
How so? Like
it's in terms of trying to follow a thread sometimes.
Really?
And maybe because the only other thread stuff I read is either comes from Facebook or message boards. Go ahead and click on any given thread.
Sure. Let's click on one of the more popular ones right now, talking about the big tour. So
down at the bottom.
We'll click this one right here. So the newest comment. Oh, you can sort it here. I always sort by new. Your newest comments are always at the top, and then followed up by
that doesn't do it.
Sub comments.
Yeah,
It's such an easy way.
I'd rather read. Can you do it by the oldest comments?
I'm assuming new. I'm assuming you can do old.
Okay.
So you want the first comments here.
I'd want to read it in chronological order.
Oh, see, that's funny because I like reading it in reverse chronological. I like reading.
Sense.
Well, I like reading because if you respond to somebody, it's underneath of that, regardless of when you did it. So I like reading what the most recent person has said regarding it. But if I reply, obviously it goes underneath of it.
I'm just looking at the board exactly as you're showing it right now, and
it's simple. Maybe
super my eye has been so in tune with Facebook.
That's probably
all these years. Or when you read a place like Disc Golf Course Review, free plug for them again. They're just very laid out, and you see it in a very clear cut. You look at that from a distance, and it's nothing but just jumbled words.
Yeah, it's super text.
That's it.
I have no problem following it.
You've also been on it and reading it for a lot of years.
Smarter than you.
No, I don't know about that.
Way smarter.
I think the board will say otherwise.
Board doesn't know.
And Alex, who I think likes to usually argue with me. I think Alex loves to challenge me normally, don't you, Alex?
I can understand it being it's more difficult laid out than most of your boards. And what you have to understand as well, I mean, when you go to a general thread like r/disc golf, is that like a message board, or unlike a mess board, this isn't everything. This is just what's hot. You can do what's new, what's rising fastest, any supposedly controversial topics, which I've never really looked at. But, it's a voted on thread. So if someone puts something out there like, hey, I got my first ace today and nobody cares, it vanishes. So I kind of like that. I'll say this, but it is a web board. You do get the disc golf thread is pretty good. You don't have a lot of idiots in there, but you do get a lot of, hey, what's this disc? And usually it's like maybe something they picked up at a flea market, and then you get a lot of, hey, this is my first ace, which, I skip through those. But anything major that happens, they usually have a good 50, 60, 70 people going off and commenting on it. So it's all right. Reddit in general is a really great place to find things.
I know plenty of people swear by it, and obviously I've never.
But it's also a really horrible place.
Just like YouTube comments.
Yeah, just like YouTube comments. It's completely. So as far as Reddit goes, give or take it, find a couple good subs that you wanna subscribe to. I think I've got about a dozen here, and that things that interest me or revolve around me, like IT department and cord killers and videography, the Wii U, things like that. And stick with those. Usually those are pretty good. Any of the major ones that you're defaulted to are probably horrible places.
Probably. So it seems that there's a few people that have agreed that it's not necessarily easy to follow. So Dan Stevens says Barsby will get his own disc this year if he heals up, a Boss or Eagle.
I don't know where you get that from. I don't necessarily know if that's the case.
I was about to say I challenge you to that, Dan, but...
Oh, as far as a touring...
I bet you, yes.
Yeah,
he would get a
you're
tour
right.
disc.
He would get a tour disc, probably.
Dan, we still need to track down this beer that I've got for you, the Nate Doss double IPA understable beer. It's somewhere. I don't know if Barrett was gone when I tried to reach out to her last week or 2 weeks ago. We'll get it to you. It's become quite a work in progress. I apologize.
And I don't know if this is something we ever want to really dive into. Like Disc Golf Nerd just posts, like, what's a CE Velk worth?
Oh,
Inked up in good shape. Those, I think, fluctuate so much. And
$20, but I'd give you $25 right now. So if you want to just send it.
Usually you can find, if you find a Facebook post and a Facebook post, you can kind of get out there and put a picture of it, and someone will tell you a general worth of it. They're usually pretty honest out there.
I think Reddit is way more demoralizing than YouTube. I don't know. I've seen some pretty...
YouTube. I would go with YouTube. Way more demoralizing than Reddit.
Well, yeah, both of them can be completely anonymous, correct? I mean, Reddit can be.
Yeah. YouTube can now, too.
Okay.
They took the fact that you had to be a signed-in user. I believe they took that away.
Yeah.
It had to be
just
linked up to your Google Plus page.
Cowards. Terry, what is a CE Velk worth? Again, that's tough to necessarily say. I mean, obviously there's conditions and weights and what run it is and all those other crazy things. Yes, check the eBay sold auctions. That's a place. I don't know how many people are still eBaying things.
I think there's still a few out there.
I know they're still out there, but I just don't know. It's not nearly as prevalent now that Facebook has so many different options.
Correct, because you've got I'll say that.
That's more fun to ask me. Like I said, $20, $25.
I'll say that about Facebook as far as disc stuff. It was really easy on eBay to go out and search because it was all in one place. Now you want to find out what's a CE Rock worth? Where do I go?
Yeah.
Do I go to CE Rock Collectors? Do I go to an Innova fan page? Do I go to there's 1,000 of them. So that's kind of a pain for the average person that wants to maybe see what a disc is worth. That's one thing that things have really spread out and separated into core groups of different types, or there's collectors, or maybe that thread is full, so they've gone to collectors 2, or maybe because that one made someone mad, they've gone and done collectors 3. It's really kind of, I don't love it. I don't subscribe to any of the Facebook. I was on the Buzz Collector page for a while, but that got too much for me. I couldn't deal with it.
Do you think I can get to 13,000 subscribers on the Disc Golf Guy page by next? That's your challenge, folks. By next Tuesday night, I want to be to 13,000 subscribers. That means I need 51 more.
Oh yeah, I think you should have that, no problem.
And what is our Smash Box? That should be at like 100,000 by now, but it's not.
I will say this: if you enjoy the podcast, I know this is very late. Go to iTunes and give us 5 stars. Don't bother writing a review. Nobody reads the reviews. They're pretty much worthless. Write a story about your first ace or something stupid. Write a story about your mom. I don't care. But the 5 stars are really useful. They help other people find disc golf podcasts. You know, if you enjoy a podcast, give it 5 stars. Us, Disc Golf Answer Man, whomever you enjoy, 5-star us, and it would help us out for searchability.
Okay, then. Wow. I don't know. I'll have to look later. Okay. Can you right-click on one of those, and it'll tell us? I think we're upwards around 8,000 or 9,000 YouTube subscribers.
I think maybe under community.
I don't know if you want to click off of that page.
It doesn't matter.
Okay. No, that's not going to do it. So we're going to do some. Oh, there you go. Maybe try subscribers.
Yeah, I was going there.
There you go. 8,652. We need that to
organic subscribers.
Yes, we need 13.5 by next week.
Whoa. I could buy some.
That's a good idea. Who are some of our latest? We'll give some shout. Chris Cobb, you seriously just subscribed 5 days ago? I am calling you out.
Wow, that is
You've been
pretty...
listening for a year.
At least, yeah, 2 years probably. And our Facebook, our event page, Jonathan Pham, 1 day ago. Thank you for subscribing. Steve Herman.
Yeah. Coffinator Disc, thank you.
Yeah.
Jake Shirky, friend on Facebook. We appreciate it, Jake.
Valley Wizards.
Sure. John Chamberlain.
Dalton Baker, Noah Young, Mindy LaFont. LaFontaine.
I don't know. Josh.
Yeah.
So, thank you, everyone. And Chris Cobb, seriously, just 5 days ago. I'm crushed. The only reason that should be happening is because this is like your 4th separate account, and you're subscribing with that one as well, in addition to your other 3. So, little 8,600 subscribers or something in that neighborhood.
Yep.
Terry, you only have 10,000 more subs than me. Whatevs. I mean, I pretty much, I go to the schools. I try and hustle kids down, and everybody's got a YouTube app these days. So I just hustle kids, get them to subscribe or tell them.
I don't doubt it, Terry.
Eat their lunch money. Eat their lunch.
It's true. I should sign my kids up for accounts and then subscribe them.
We totally need that. All right. I think we're about to wind things down, unless we've got anything else that you guys need to chime in with. So we have a pretty solid fan base of people out there. Maybe you're not fans. Maybe you're just a base.
They're taking notes on what we're doing wrong and stupid things we say.
Yes. Need to become a Vine star. Is Vine still a thing?
I don't know.
I mean, I'm sure it exists.
Yes,
but
it's still out there, and I'm sure there are still people that are Vine. There are some Vine stars out there. So,
I wouldn't know the start of it. I signed up for a Vine account. I think I made one video, and that was it. I'm fading out of Snapchat. You can find me on the Disc Golf Guy, but I'm fading out of Snapchat. I'm
back onto chat roulette.
Yep. That's where the good action is.
I'm going back to AOL Instant Messenger.
There you go.
So I think that's gonna
ICQ.
Yep.
Some of those.
Just a lot of ASL. That's all I type.
Exactly. So, Truth Campaign used some Vine stars. Okay.
All right.
That's pretty sweet. I don't know if Bob. We know Bobby Brown was going to tune in. Cool Daddy Slick Breeze, that is.
He was on
Disc Golf Answer Man. Man, he might have more tags or pseudonyms than I do. Cool Daddy Slick Breeze.
Bobby Brown.
Well, and then the Disc Golf Answer Man. He's involved in all these different things.
He's involved in that. I don't know if anyone calls him the Disc Golf Answer Man though. I don't know if it's technically
it's the Disc
a moniker.
Golf Answer Man. The question is,
who's the
two
Answer
of them.
Man?
Yeah.
The Answer Men? Disc Golf Answer Men?
Now I'm just have visions of the YMCA men. YMCA. I don't know. Would you be the disc? I'm half of the Disc Golf Answer Man. If you're referring to one of them.
Are you calling Bobby half a man?
No, he's
Wow.
all man. Let me tell you.
All right. Well, yeah.
Maybe, I don't know. He's gonna have to clarify for us. Pro and casual men, pro and casual answer men. 87 male from Botswana. I'm not sure about that. Seriously, if you guys don't have anything else, we're gonna wrap things up. Green Mountain Championships is available. The Halloween Classic, what did I say? 14 days or less. I'm calling on my boy Tony. I think he's going to be helping me out with some of that, so I appreciate it. Yeah, we'll get those out. I got to get the Derek Billings video posted.
There's one of the channels I subscribe to called Scam School. They do what they call the Scam School Remix, which is like a shortened version of their normal show. So you're calling yours like mini clip or something?
Just calling them mini clips when they're literally like less than a minute.
Yeah, okay.
So, just a quick little thing that people, if they want to go out and watch it. Obviously, I was so caught up for so long in calling them, they're my video blogs, but when I didn't feel like they warranted being a whole blog or considered a blog, that's when I now have created 2 mini clips. One with Nico's throw-in and one with Simon Lizotte doing a trick. Okay. And Simon needs to get on it, doing some more tricks for us.
He's probably thinking them up, so.
Yeah, he needs to get it together.
Let's get out of here.
Okay.
Sure. Bye. Just kidding. All right. Episode 60 next week is our 1-year anniversary. I want to thank everybody for tuning in tonight. Thanks to everybody who's tuned in and given their feedback, good or bad. That includes you, Dana. And we will catch you next week, Tuesday, 9 p.m. Central, for our 1-year special anniversary edition. There'll be nothing special. With I don't know. We'll see if we can ring up a guest. Maybe Uli will win another event and we can grab him.
Shirtless Dana.
Shirtless Dana. We will not be shirtless. So for Terry Miller and John Van Derzen, have a good night.
Later.